Sox 4-3. That series tied at 1 game apiece. National League Dodgers finish off the Reds 8-4. LA moves on to the NLDS for the 13th straight season, and the Padres stay alive, knocking off the Cubs 3-0. That series tied at 1 game apiece. Browns making a change at quarterback on Wednesday. Dylan Gabriel's going to start over Joe Flacco. Head coach Kevin Stefanski, and why the move was made right now.
I think the big thing for me is we need to all be better. We need to coach better. We need to block better, catch better, run better. All of the above. We need to be better. And I know the quarterback position gets quite a bit of scrutiny. I understand that, but this is about our entire team playing better.
Browns have arrived in London, going to take on the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday. Flacco will serve as the backup, and Shedeur Sanders remains the third stringer. Can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas. Up next now for the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima here on 92.3 The Fan.
All the Browns and NFL news you may have missed at work. The Afternoon Drive. Weekday starting at 2. 92.3 The Fan. The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima.
Mize' pitch is hitting the air to deep right center field. Back by the wall and gone! George Valera. Well hit ball to right. Way back and gone! Brian Rocchio has given Cleveland the lead. Hit in the air and right. Back by the wall. Perez. That one's gone! What has gotten into these Cleveland Guardians? Bo Naylor, a 3-run homer. And it's 6-1 Cleveland. Line drive. And it was scary for the Guardians in the ninth inning. Smith, the wildness, Rocchio, the error, but even with all that, Detroit could not score.
This is Cleveland Sports Radio. 92.3 The Fan.
The Bats came out to play yesterday, and your Guardians have forced a do-or-die Game 3 wild card round to have the honor to go to Seattle over the weekend. What a thrilling 7th, 8th, and 9th for the Guardians, who finally, the Bats woke up, and they beat Detroit 6-1, and they move to today, where it's not a 108 start. Thank you guys for informing me. It's a 308 start officially today. Hello, everybody. Anthony Lima and Jason Lloyd from The Athletic is in for Ken Carman. An offensive explosion you'll tell your grandkids about yesterday in this wild card round.
They hit the ball at a ballpark. So that doesn't happen very often around here.
Who has the playoff boppers, ladies and gentlemen? Not Detroit and their 6 All-Stars.
Nope, these guys.
The Guardians, finally, what a wild turn of events. And, you know, so much is going to be made, obviously, of maybe capturing momentum if you believe in something like that in this sport or in sports in general. Kind of depends on who you talk to. But I got to tell you, the moment where I thought, oh my God, we might actually win this game. It wasn't Quan getting things going finally after a terrible string of at-bats to start out the playoffs. It wasn't, man, they kept walking Jose. Jose was getting on base, but he wasn't really, doing damage. They weren't going to allow him to be the reason they were going to lose the game. It wasn't, the Rocchio home run was obviously just absolutely massive. But it was Herron getting out of that jam in the 7th. And when he was able to do that, what was it, 2 on, no out pickle that he got out of? Unbelievable that they, Hinch also, made a huge mistake, pinch hitting for one of the few guys who could actually hit and hit for power in this series. And when they got out of that, I'm like, oh my God, we're going to actually win this game. I think we got a shot to win the game, and we did.
That's exactly what I told Zach Meisel in the press box yesterday when Herring went storming off the mound after striking him out. I looked at Zach and said, they're going to win the game. That's it. It's over. They're going to win. And then Rocchio comes up, hits the homer, Naylor with the 3-run shot. And
we had 2 hits for the game going into the 8th inning. What do we have? How many hits do we have in the opener against Skubal? and Detroit in general. Was it 4?
4.
Was it 4 hit? I mean, that's all we could muster.
We had 4 hits out of the infield total in the first game. Only 1 was an actual hit. The other 3 were caught. And then they started hitting the ball over the fence yesterday.
It makes it easier. Boy, playoff baseball is a little bit easier when you can actually do that and hit for power.
I mean, the team that hits more homers almost always wins in the playoffs. And that's by, I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit at the whole guards ball thing because it sounds fun and it looks cute on a T-shirt, but it doesn't really win playoff games when you have to string together 2 and 3 and 4 hits and bunt guys over and steal bases. You can do it in July. You can't do it in October. Bullpens are too good. Bullpens are too deep now. You have to be able to hit the ball over the fence. And, I wrote about it this morning or last night that the Guardians have been waiting 164 games to get to this lineup with George Valera and Chase DeLauder in it. And with DeLauder making his debut in the playoffs, I think he's the 6th player in the modern era of baseball to debut in a postseason game. And obviously, got off to a bit of a rough start with the fly ball to center field and made up for it by throwing the guy out at third a couple innings later. But and
we're sure he threw him out, right?
I thought he was out.
Was there a camera angle we didn't see?
Yeah, no, I thought he was out. I thought he was out on replay. Zach and I thought he was out live.
Okay, I did too. Live, I thought he was out. Then I saw replays, and especially the one they showed where you could not see behind the tag, and I'm like, well, that's where the play is. They're showing us an angle that there's no way they'll end up seeing it our way. Then they showed that other angle, and I'm like, okay, but is this enough to overturn?
Yeah.
Is this enough for us to get the call to go our way? Let's be honest, real quick, before you get into the lineup, and this is finally the lineup you want to see. When he dropped that pop fly, and clearly it was going to be an adventure, the way the sun was, you could just tell. Sometimes on TV doesn't do it justice, especially with shadows later in the game, which really started to creep in around the 7th inning. When he was sizing it up out there, I'm like, oh boy. And then
and it's the wind too.
Yes.
It wasn't just the sun.
Well, McDonough was all over that.
It was a stiff wind blowing directly in. Because we felt it the whole game.
Gates,
yeah.
You could see it with some of the older people that were sitting in the primetime seats. I noticed they were wearing jackets and the sun was out.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, oh God, they're in the sun and they're wearing the jackets. You could tell that the wind was wreaking havoc. And when he dropped that baseball, all I could think was, oh my God, every call is going to be. And we didn't get the calls yesterday when they on the afternoon show or on the midday show when they made the move, because I left the show yesterday at like 10:25. I'm walking outside and someone on the street was like, hey, they made the move. They're going to DeLauder. I'm like, okay. I mean, the rumors, actually, we see it through here. When he dropped that ball, I'm like, oh my God, we're 100% of the calls are going to be what a Mickey Mouse operation to play somebody the first time they've ever played in a playoff game where your season's on the line. Had they not gotten out of that jam,
in a position that he doesn't, he's a right fielder, right?
He can play center.
Ton of center.
He can play a lot of center.
He's never played it in progressive field. I think that's a big deal. Well, Zach wrote about it on Monday. Yes. A great article about what they did with him to prepare him for that actual moment. And then the moment comes and he doesn't catch the ball. And I wanted him to start yesterday. I said it on the show yesterday. I wanted him to start only because it's a batter that the Tigers haven't seen.
Right.
But I didn't think he'd drop the first
we were never going to. What I'm saying is, and DeLauder could turn out to be an unbelievable player. If they don't get out of that situation and they're down 2-0, they end up getting a home run, obviously, on the other end. But if they're down going into those at-bats, they start pressing, their season is on the line, the fans are going to be quiet. It would be a total disaster, and forever we would hear about the Guardians had the bright idea to put somebody who had never played a Major League Baseball game in. Thank God, thank the Lord that they were able to come out on the other side of that, withstand it, and now they have a chance for the kid to become a hero.
Yeah, so what's funny about that is, when you're in the press box, you're getting ready for the game, and Zach and I are going over what could happen, what are you thinking, who you talk to, da-da-da. And I said, what if DeLauder goes... we were joking the day before. I'm like, the guy, he's never healthy. What if he ruptures his appendix in center field? And so we were joking yesterday, and I said, what if he goes 3 for 4 today and hits a homer? And Zach said, what if he loses 2 fly balls in the sun? And 10 minutes later, he lost a fly ball in the sun. And so as
in
part
the worst way imaginable.
Well, but part of that is because, and I don't think Zach put this in the piece that you alluded to, Owen, but the Guardians have an app that they use that calculates where the sun is at exact moments in Progressive Field. And
mine's called weather.com.
Well, they have one that's a little bit more precise than that. Okay.
The Browns have Phil Dawson and the flag.
And the flag.
This is a little more, would you say, this is how you would expect a team that doesn't have a ton of money that has to do it, on the margins?
Well, no, I mean, whatever. Anybody can have access to this, but the whole point is that at exactly 1:00, the sun was directly behind home plate. Like, it was the worst possible time to have a fly ball hit at you. And then what was funny is when they moved DeLauder to right, the sun was still in his eyes because the sun had moved to where it was still directly in his eyes.
Right.
And he even said yesterday, he looked up, he's like, oh, great, the sun's still there after he moved to right field.
Well, I was hoping he'd have a sense of humor about it, man, because he's
a good dude.
Well,
he's a good dude.
You said before the show, you're like, people are going to fall in love with this guy.
They're going to love this. If he can stay healthy, people are going to love him.
All I could think about when I was so bad at baseball when I was young, praying the ball didn't get hit to me. I mean, praying that ball.
When you were young?
When my entire lifetime of playing baseball, hoping that ball didn't come to me. Jason, I made one of the most humiliating errors of all time in a celebrity softball game. Okay, I can't even remember whose game it was, but I remember there were some heavy hitters at this game, and the place was packed. And of course,
was this recently?
No, this was like 9 years ago. This was like 9 years ago, and
Joe Hayden's game.
Yeah, it might have been Joe Hayden, and the ball found me. The ball found me. I was exposed on a number of different occasions. And that's all I was thinking about was when DeLauder dropped that, I'm like, I'm off the hook.
Yeah.
This is a Major League Baseball player. And it happened to him in a playoff game, and everybody watched it. And the thing was, it kept showing his family. And I was thinking about was, if you're his family, do you even stay for the game? Like, if people figure out who you are, normally they wear the jerseys. And all I kept thinking, we talked about this on the morning show when Schmidt, missed the field goal, and we're like, well, his family can't come to the next game, and then he hits the game winner.
Yeah.
So thank God his family was there, and they don't act like we do, cowards, because we're like, there's no way his family, because the word starts to make its way around. Well, they showed DeLauder's family, I swear to God, 17 times, and McDonough is talking about it, and he drops the ball. And you know what? He was resolute. He hung in there. I mean, what are you supposed to do? What, are you going to go home?
Well, he said I was in shambles. Like, I was in shambles after he drops that. Like, just imagine your Major League debut. It's a freaking playoff game. Second batter of the game, first ball hit to you, and you drop it. He admitted, like, yeah, I was a mess out there. But he already has the respect of the veterans in that clubhouse. And, like, you can tell.
He would have had to for them to even make this move.
Oh, sure.
There's no way they're going to put somebody out there who everyone looks around and goes, what? They're putting this kid in?
You can tell when veterans are saying something because they have to, because they're supposed to, and when they mean it. When you do this long enough, it's really easy to tell. They mean it. Like, Zach talked to Hedges about it, and Hedges is like, oh, yeah, like they believe in that kid. I talked to Quan, and I said, do you say anything to him after that, or do you lift him up? And Steven's like, no, I didn't even say anything. He said, because it can come off as patronizing a little bit when you go over there and like, hey, it's okay. He said, when it sounds like it's patronizing, he said, that dude's going to be fine. Like, we don't have to worry about him at all. So to hear that from some of the veterans and some of the leaders in the clubhouse just tells you that he really truly does have their respect already. They know he's a dude. He just has to stay healthy. That's it. If him and Valera can both stay healthy, this provides so much power and length to this lineup that it hasn't had in a really, really long time.
Well, you had guys come through finally. It started out Quan, then Rocchio, Schneemann, Naylor. They blow the game wide open. And then there were still some very tense and anxious moments late in that game when I'm sitting there celebrating. Old Lima came out. I was jumping up and down. The kids were wearing Guardians jerseys. I think the father-in-law is not happy it's not Indians jerseys. Either way, they were jumping up and down. It was awesome. My wife's putting it on the Instagram that the kids are wearing, and we're getting the comments. And then I'm looking late in the game, and I'm going, we're not gonna blow this, right? Like, in my mind, we'd already won the game.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of thinking, well, it's the Guardians. This is not the Browns. Like, this is not going to be an epic collapse. So there's only one thing going into today. They don't have Skubal. Right? So you don't have to worry. They're not sending their best guy, to the mound. You're going up against Flaherty. It's a guy we've had, some success with. Were you able to hit a home run off him, right? Last time they went up against him. However, if this game, and it's expected to be a bullpen game at some point, Cade Smith.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's available. I'm sure he wants to pitch. It's the only reason I am not jumping up and down with optimism about today is if this does become a bullpen game, what is he going to have left? And how is Skip going to use him?
Well, Cade only pitched 3 days in a row last year in the last 3 games against the Yankees. That was it. He always had off days in between, and he only threw a total of 32 pitches over those 3 days. He's at, I think it's close to 50 over the last 2. I think he had 19 in game 1. What do you have yesterday, Owen? Do you know how many pitches?
I got the box right.
How many pitches he threw yesterday? He was over 20 for sure. Excuse me.
I thought he was at 30.
He might have been.
He went 31 pitches.
31. Yesterday. All right, so he's at 50. He's at 50 over the last 2 days.
That's tough.
It's well, can he do it? Yeah, but it's really rolling the dice.
Here's Vogt right here. They asked him about if he'll be available for today's game. Here's Vogt's answer.
We're going to see how he's feeling. Cade pitches a ton for us. I'm sure he's going to be ready to go, but we'll have to obviously check. We always check with our guys before.
Of course, I think he's going to be available. I think he's going to want to pitch. The thing that stinks is I supported the move to stick with him because you didn't know the floodgates would open up. But looking back, it's like
you had a 5-run lead and Matt Festa in the bullpen.
Yeah,
you have to leave him out there.
You had to.
Once you make that move, you can't go away from. Can you imagine if you go to Festa and he blows the season and your season ends?
Yeah, he made the right move
because you took your closer out to start the night. No. It was unfortunate that they had to go to him in the 8th because if you don't go to him in the 8th, then you can sit him in the 9th. But you don't know. You don't know if they're going to rep like that in the bottom of the 8th. So he played it the way he had to do it. It's unfortunate that the pitch count got up a little bit higher on him than he would have liked in that 9th inning. But you got to figure it out. You're going to rely on Slade Ciccone and Joey Cantillo now. Hopefully they can get you 7 combined between the two of them. 7, 8. There's no reason they can't. They're both stretched out as starters. They can get you 8 between them.
All right, 216-474-0092. I want to get, the level of optimism right now for Guardians fans. Now that we got ourselves a series, we're going to a Game 3. It's in Detroit. I want to hear from people that are going to be on their way. You got another 2 hours to make your way there. I think that's a nice bonus that this is not going to be a 108 game. So how is everybody feeling about that? Do you think maybe some momentum that the Bats were able to finally waken up? And, hey, Jason Lloyd is here. We'll ask him. There's a new quarterback for the Cleveland Browns going to London to make the start. How are you feeling about young Dylan Gabriel's chances on Sunday? That's all straight ahead here on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
92.3 The Fan.
Coverage is right here on Cleveland's Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
Hit in the air, it's DeLauder again, battling the sun, and a relatively easy catch that time. And a big cheer from the Guardian fans.
Did you wave to the crowd after the Wenzel fly ball you caught? Yeah, I had to, especially after the drop, man. Because if I just let that take over, it's just going to be a bad day in general. So just accepting that happened, and then obviously having the catch in the second, giving the crowd a little thumbs up, and they loved it. So I think that was not only good for me, but kind of good for everybody around as far as calming the nerves.
What a relief! And now you got a win or go home today. The weather is going to be beautiful. Are you having fun yet, Jason Lloyd? What are you going to do all day today?
I don't know. I got 5 hours to kill from the time this show's over to first pitch. I don't want to go all the way home and turn around and come all the way back.
Yeah.
You gave me a couple suggestions. I don't think I'm going to take you up on them.
Oh, come on. Old Jason Lloyd. Back in the old days, we were palling around.
25 years ago, maybe.
We got a casino. We got other outlets. Stretch our legs out a little bit.
Yeah.
But this is, let me ask you, it's the wild card. It's not the ALDS, right? It's had a different feel to it. I know they've shown some empty seats in the bleachers and everything. What about today? How different of a feel do you think it'll be today?
I think the 3:00 start helps. Hopefully it's a little bit bigger of a crowd. I think they were about 8,000 short of a sellout again yesterday. Mm-hmm. I think they were around 26, 27 the last 2 days. It'll be juiced in there. It feels like at 1:00 yesterday when the game was starting, I told Zach, I'm like, man, this place is half empty still. And it filled up by probably the second or third inning. It felt pretty full in there. And listen.
Now you got an extra 2 hours to make your way in.
I think that'll help. Maybe pull kids out of school a little bit early today if you want, or you can cut out of work a couple hours early.
People I was talking to that did take their kids, they're still trying to work half days and then speed back to the suburbs and get their kids.
And come back.
And then speed back, you know. So now you get that.
The time helps. Yeah. I mean, usually most schools are getting out around 3:00. You can yank your kid out an hour early. It's not that big of a deal. They don't miss quite as much time. Maybe you can cut out a couple hours early. So I do think the later start is going to help a little bit. But there is no better venue in Cleveland as far as I'm concerned. Listen, those NBA Finals games, I was at every single one of them, and that place is a great environment. I will go to my grave saying the best environment in Cleveland is Progressive Field in October. It is the best. It is the coolest place when it is really rolling. It's the best venue in town.
Well, what's great is Detroit at the end of the season. We were all scoreboard watching, and it was bizarre. The whole last week of the season, we were watching the Astros. We were watching the jockeying for position to see if not only could we get in the wild card, but we could also. Detroit set this all up to yield home field advantage, so they could have Skubal in game one of
and
what
it was the right call.
And it was the right call, but Skubal's gone.
Yeah.
So big bad Skubal, you don't have to deal with. And now it opens up for what is going to be a raucous crowd. And now, finally, it's like a welcome to the playoffs moment when you get the bats going. Because you're right. You could not rely on guards ball. Whatever that is, you could not rely on that. Because really, guards ball was hoping Skubal couldn't field his position.
Yeah.
Right? Well, it's
a gimmick.
That doesn't work. That does not work in the playoffs. And it almost worked in game one. But that does not work long term. You needed guys to show some muscle at the plate.
You could squeeze one game out doing that type stuff. You're not going to win multiple series doing that.
You're still going to need the guards ball feel of defense, though.
Oh, sure.
The way that
defense
they play
and pitching.
Defense. Yeah. That's they've made their hay in small ball on offense, and the outfielders throwing guys out trying to get extra bases and stuff. And you're still going to need that stuff. But you're right. Like, if we don't have it, we've seen it how many times in the last 10 years of making the playoffs, and then just the Yankees out hitting us every game.
Absolutely.
And
that's the unfortunate part. And you mentioned the Tigers pinch hitting Riley Green, and you just know, like, Detroit is going to go to get a left-hander as soon as they can, and they're going to start pushing these guys out of the lineup. Valera, DeLauder, they're going to start removing from the lineup for more John Kenzie Noel and more Jonathan Rodriguez. I'm good if I never see Noel take another at-bat at home plate in a Guardians uniform. But he's going to be there as a pinch hitter at some point as soon as the Tigers go to left-hand.
And this kind of is my question. A series like this where, the hits were so hard to come by, and then you see a ray of light yesterday in the eighth inning, And you see these guys finally, and this is the lineup, like you said, there have been Guardians fans all year that have been on our social media and in our YouTube live and calling us saying they're playing the wrong guys. I'm like, yeah, are you really going to rely on Valera come play up? All right, here we go.
2 hardest hit balls yesterday, George Valera and Chase DeLauder.
Yes.
2 hardest hit balls for the Guardians.
Yes, so the platoon thing and the pinch hitting, like, do you think part of the dialogue last night is maybe we need to get away from some of these tendencies? Maybe we don't need to go righty-lefty.
I would love to think that's the case.
I think it cost Detroit royally.
I would love to think that's the case. It's not. They're going to stick with this. They've done it all year. They're not going to change now. And we haven't even talked about Rocchio. I haven't even mentioned Rocchio. A half hour into the show, I had the biggest hit yesterday of the game, the home run that put him up.
And then had the error that loaded him up. My God, I was panicking. My God. But
it helps you got a 5-run lead.
That does help.
But after the October that he had last year, and it looked like, okay, he's figured it out. He's emerged as an everyday guy. And then just another miserable season this year. And all of a sudden...
Until September.
And then all of a sudden, now here we are again at the most important stage. And there's Brian Rocchio again with another home run. It's crazy.
The other thing was just seeing Quan finally have a good at bat.
Yeah.
He had been scuffling and just the swings. The swings were not the Quan that, we had built up this reputation. I mean, we were talking on the show about is he going to make $20 million, $25 million, $30 million a year. And you're seeing him kind of flail away and make poor decisions.
Who said he's making $30 million a year? Well, I want to show hands.
Well, I think it's what he scribbled in his notebook. I think that's what he was hoping for originally.
It was everybody on this show not named Owen.
Well, it was also what he...
So all the people that don't watch baseball?
Well, he quite literally had put that as his asking price.
He didn't get $30 million.
What his goal was originally. No, he's not going to get anywhere near that now, but...
He was never getting anywhere close to $30 million. Steven Kwan's a really good player. Gold Glove outfielder, obviously. Really, really, really good player. I think his status gets elevated here a little bit more because what's around him is so awful in terms of offense that it's basically Jose and Kwan, and that's it. I don't think Kwan is anywhere near a $30 million a year player in free agency.
All right, 216-474-0092. Let's go to Ed in Wickman. Ed, how you feeling about the team today?
Jacked. I just was pulled into work here waiting for the doors to open up and had you on there, and you said that no Scooble today. Isn't there a possibility facing elimination that team up north could bring him back and start him?
You know what's funny about that? Not start him. Well, so what's funny about that is he's going to throw a bullpen today. That's just the regular rotation of how these guys operate. I said last year when Bieber was coming back, maybe it's 2 years ago, when Shane was hurt, why don't you just make your bullpen live action game for an inning? Get an inning out of them. I don't think they've ever done that. I don't think they would ever do that. But I don't think it's unreasonable to say, hey, if he's going to go out there and throw 20, 25 pitches in the bullpen, why don't you try and get an inning or two out of him in a game? But obviously the stress of game action is significantly different than throwing a bullpen. But no, they're not going to throw him. You're not going to see him. But as this game continues to evolve and change in the way it thinks, I do wonder if one of these days you'll see guys who are scheduled to throw a bullpen that day if they just throw in the game instead.
Well, I know if I was a skipper there, I would try and work him in somewhere somehow because, your
season's on the line. Their season is definitely at stake.
It's the same guy that pitched hit for Riley Green yesterday. Yeah. I think all he's thinking about with Scooble is, well, we got to have him Saturday in Seattle.
So you better get to Saturday.
Which is tough. Yeah, it's a tough thing to think about.
I get that, but he should have not pulled Riley Green and got to Seattle yesterday.
I agree with you. I agree.
So I could not believe it.
What from that background is going to tell you that he's going to do something, that we're going to get a Randy Johnson in the wild card series?
Yeah, baseball is just too obsessed with this platoon, and it's got to go away.
I'm also waiting for Jose to have a gigantic moment. Obviously, I was very nervous that, his season, we always get these stragglers that come in when we talk about building the statue. They're like, well, what about Jose in the playoffs? Well, then, his hustle gets him to third base in game one. They're sitting there with no outs. And then, unfortunately, he goes on contact. And it just...
That was the right call.
So it's interesting.
Do people think he made a mistake?
I've
a
seen
lot of people do.
I've seen a split big time.
He did not. That is a contact play. You're trying anything you can to get a run. You are off with the crack of the bat.
It doesn't matter where the ball is hit on the infield.
Especially after you had the batter before that strikeout. If there were no outs, maybe you wait.
Yes, correct.
But there was one out already.
If clearly it was a contact play where he is off on contact. And I think Vogt said if it's a foot or two to either side of him, he scores. It's just unfortunate that went right back to the mound. Jose Ramirez did not make a base running error on that play. You have to go on contact. You're doing everything you can to get that run and win that game.
So Ramirez yesterday ends up walking 3 times. He's just not getting much to hit at all. Do you think today could be the opportunity? You see what they're doing. You see how they're pitching him. That's got to be frustrating as hell, knowing you're just not going to get many opportunities at all.
Manzardo has to punish him, and Kyle did not have a good day at the plate yesterday.
No.
And he's going to be back in the. I would imagine they're going to go with the same lineup as they did yesterday. Flaherty, another right-hander on the mound.
You run it back, yeah.
Valera's going to bat second, Jose third, and Manzardo fourth. So Kyle has to, if they're going to work around Jose, then Kyle has to be the one to punish him for it. And I feel good about Manzardo as a player overall. Like, again, I think with Valera, DeLauder, and Manzardo, there is an opportunity to lengthen this lineup and actually have threats in this lineup and bats that guys fear, that opponents are going to fear. And now it's hard to say that about a guy who just showed up September 1st, another guy who just got here yesterday. But the pedigree on these guys and what they've been thought of, it was interesting. I looked it up. Keith Law, who does prospects for The Athletic, 9 of his top 13, and really 10 of 14 if you count Logan Allen, who should be on this roster but isn't because he pitched on Sunday and wasn't going to be part of the series. 10 of his top 14 prospects from this team from 2 years ago are on this playoff roster. So that's a great job of scouting development by the Guardians, and what they think of Valera and DeLauder for the long term. They just have. I'm going to just keep repeating myself all morning long. They got to stay healthy. If they stay healthy, there is a really high ceiling on what this team can do.
All right. Meanwhile, there has been a lineup change with the Cleveland Browns. They're going with Dylan Gabriel as their starting quarterback. There was plenty of reaction, both nationally and in the Browns locker room. What does it all mean for their chances to get to 2-3? Jason Lloyd is in for The Athletic for Ken Carman here on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. Anthony Lima for Diamonds Direct, corner of Richmond and Cedar Road, where it is a beautiful time right off 271 on the east side to get to Diamonds Direct and indulge in the jewelry you've always dreamt of with no interest until 2030. Imagine saying yes to a brilliant engagement ring, diamond upgrade, or that iconic piece of fine jewelry and enjoying it now while paying overtime interest-free. Rare opportunity to bring home extraordinary diamonds, wedding bands, and fashion jewelry with unmatched flexibility, but a limited time only. It's this month at Diamonds Direct. Elevate the moment, secure your legacy piece, and do it all with no interest until 2030. Be treated like a VIP the moment you walk through the door at Diamonds Direct. They'll have your favorite drink ready to go, and then no matter what,
I think across the board, we have to be better, and that's the we in this thing. So obviously expect Dylan to play well, but we have to be good around him.
From the beginning, it's the moment you look forward to as a competitor. But it's part of my job, to be ready, to be that sense of hope for everyone, to continue to be better and come together and create momentum for each other. So excited for that, but just also extremely focused at doing my job at a high level.
Kevin Stefanski making the move to Dylan Gabriel. Yesterday, they all kind of coalesced around the move. We heard from Dylan Gabriel, heard from Joe Flacco. Everybody was acting like professionals, and then Stefanski had this to say when it came to making the move and the confidence in the kid.
From the second he's been here, he's been working very hard, very intelligent young man. He's done a nice job throughout practice. This whole season, he's been learning how to get yourself ready and understand the rhythm of an NFL week and what that looks like as a backup, and now feel like he's ready to go in as a starter.
And he was asked about getting reps, and he's like, yeah, he's been getting reps, but did not go into great detail about just how involved he's been throughout.
Well, the way it was explained to me was like if there's 8 reps in a practice session, Joe would get 6 and Dylan would get 2 in terms of weekly preparation.
That's life in the NFL.
Yeah, it is. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm like that's standard. The starting quarterback gets 90% of the reps.
Yeah, and I know it's been a bizarre situation altogether. And then when we learned on the TV broadcast, I think in week 2 or week 3, I think it was Ross Tucker actually that was like, yeah, they're actually getting a package together at the end of practice for Shedeur Sanders. And when I heard that, I'm like, well, isn't Dylan Gabriel getting work in too? Well, now we find out, yes, he's been getting some work in, during practice. Either way, none of it is a substitute for actual NFL game action. And none of this matter, preseason stuff. And yes, he had some nice drives against guys who are not in the NFL anymore that played for the Rams. Like, yeah, that he looked good at times during those moments, but none of it is a substitute for what we're going to see on Sunday. And this is creating a lot of interest for me. I do not expect him to play well, and I'm just not a huge fan of him in general. But this is giving me a big-time reason to wake up early on Sunday and see a new potential era of Browns quarterbacking.
So that's interesting. Define well. You don't think he's going to play well. What does that mean? What is that?
I think you have a veteran, one of the great defensive coordinators in all of football, that when he heard that news, now maybe he was licking his chops anyway at Joe Flacco.
Absolutely.
But when he heard, that's the guy I get to go up against, meaning Browns are going to dumb it down. There are going to be a lot of short, quick reads. He's like, I'll have my guys ready to go for that. That's never been a thing. I think that a defensive coordinator like him, especially with the exotic blitz schemes and everything, because if they're ready for the short, quick stuff, then what does that set up on third down? That sets up passing situation, third down. Here we go, exotic blitzes, coming at every angle, stuff he's never seen before, especially at the speed of an NFL defense. Like, I imagine Brian Flores is pretty excited.
And don't forget, Flores was the runner-up to the job here.
Yeah.
So that's a little extra.
Yeah, good point.
But he's not the one on the field. Like, the players don't care that he was the runner-up for the DC job here. But for him, I'm sure that provides a little extra something. I actually think Dylan is going to be competent. I don't think he's going to be a star. I don't think he's not throwing for 300 yards or anything like that. But I do think he's going to get them into the right calls. I think he can get them lined up. I think he can complete passes, get the ball out quickly, and keep the chains moving and not turn the ball over. And that's what they're looking for right now. You're just looking for competency. And I do think I think he's going to surprise people. And again, not saying he's the starting quarterback here for the next decade. Don't think that's the case. But the only thing truly holding him back really is size. And there are other quarterbacks smaller, his size and smaller, who've had success. Now, a lot of them are probably a little bit more athletic than what he is. So that's a bad combination. And really the size thing to me leads to injury concerns more than anything. How can he hold up over the rest of the season?
Because they all get hit eventually.
Oh, yeah. He's going to take some shots. And can he keep getting up and keep getting up? But in terms of the mental side of the game, I have no concerns about Dylan on that. Arm strength, no concerns. It really comes down to size more than anything with him.
Well, I looked at it this way, and 216-474-0092. I would wonder if this changes the interest level for Browns fans, because everybody was telling me yesterday, yeah, we don't know if Dylan Gabriel's good, but we need a spark. We need something different. It's not Joe Flacco. We knew where the Joe Flacco stuff was going. He's 40 years old. Yep. What's the point? Okay, well, you got your wish. Now, how confident are you? You made a good case. You made a good case on why they could do this. Maybe they could scheme it. Stefanski... He can scheme a drive. Yep. Well, can he scheme a half? Can he keep him in the game? Can it not be the DTR situation from a few years ago?
He got P.J. Walker to beat the 49ers at home.
Yeah.
So, and again, this is going to open up more of the playbook than what they've been running. What they've been running at this point is very bland, very vanilla, because it has to be with the quarterback situation. And these receivers, we talked about it last year. The offense they tried to run last year was mind-numbing. This is not a talented receiver room that can create separation.
No.
And last year, some of the routes that they were running did not align with the talent that they had. So this year, now that you have a quarterback who can move a little bit, now you know what the receivers are capable and not capable of doing. I do think that there's a path to make all of this work. Obviously, you would like better tackle play. You've got to get something more out of these tackles than what you've gotten. But you can run inside with Quinshawn. You can move the pocket a little bit now with the quarterback. This is never going to be an offense that is deep shot after deep shot, chunk play after chunk play. But I think that there is a way to create advantages and to create enough chunk plays to keep you in this. And the defense is going to keep you in games. All you have to do is not turn the ball over and give your opponent short fields. That's a huge part of this. I think I was on Monday. Was I on? Yeah, Monday. I was on with you Monday. We were talking about this. The Lions went 41 yards to get 24 of their points. In a 34-10 win, the Lions needed 24 offensive yards, 41 offensive yards to get 24 offensive points. That is what kills this team. If you just eliminate that, just eliminate the mistakes and make your opponent drive the length of the field, you're going to be competitive and you're going to have chances to win at the end of the game.
Well, part of it is, and admittedly, I don't look to Tennessee very often when trying to make comparisons about the Browns. But, they are starting their number one overall pick, right?
Yeah,
and that guy is, on paper, his profile, way more talented, just the profile in general, way more advanced than Dylan Gabriel, who most think got overdrafted by the Browns, where he did. And they've got the offensive line coach that, we've been missing, right? And Callahan is over there, and he's getting his ass kicked, and it's not looking good.
No.
And so that's the only thing that it pauses me. I'm like, you got to have a particular set of skills here. I just don't know that Dylan Gabriel, I would not be stunned at all, Jason, if he just looks overwhelmed in his first NFL game.
If Dylan Gabriel is 6'2 3/4, where do you think he gets drafted?
Oh, first round.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all it comes down to is size. And I'm not saying that's nothing, because it's something. It's significant. But if you can put him in advantageous situations to overcome that, what are you scared of? What are you scared of?
I'm just scared of the turnstiles at tackle, and I know they're hoping to have Conklin.
And that's fair.
And do we have an update on whether or not Cam Robinson is going to be available?
Well, what's funny is if you get Conklin back, now suddenly that's the more important tackle because your quarterback's left-handed. So, and I do think there's a chance for Sunday, I think. But if you get him back, that's a massive, massive upgrade to the blind side now of your quarterback. So I'm just saying, if the height is the biggest thing that you're concerned about with Dylan, it's fair. But if you can, that's on Kevin now to figure out ways to overcome that. And if you can overcome that, and he's going to get passes not batted down, that's going to happen. It's going to happen if it happens the first quarter, second quarter, everyone's going to throw their hands up and say, see, this is why he's not an NFL quarterback. He's getting passes batted down. Okay, well, if he gets 2 knocked down a game, now if they get tipped and turn into interceptions, that's a problem. If they're getting batted down, okay, it's an incomplete pass, move on to the next play. But if you can overcome the size, I don't know that there's a ton of other limitations in his game. That's just a really big one to overcome.
All right, that's Jason Lloyd in for The Athletic, in for Ken Carman today. When we come back, hey, finally, the backup quarterback, now backup, didn't say anything in the locker room. So why is that causing another national media firestorm? We'll explain when we come back here on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. Anthony Lima for Fanatic Sports app.
promise.
All the Browns and NFL news you may have missed at work. The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. 92.3 The Fan.
I don't think I foresaw it. Anytime you're in this league, I mean, everybody's always getting evaluated, and the job of a quarterback is to help your team win football games. So I don't know if I foresaw it coming. But listen, me and Kevin can have a good conversation. Got to the point and had a good conversation with him about it, and it is what it is.
Joe Flacco taking the news in stride yesterday that he is off to the bench just 4 weeks in.
He had to know.
You think so?
It was coming. If not this week, it's coming soon. He knew when he got the job, it wasn't for the year.
Well,
yes.
Isn't that what the "I know what I signed up for" comment was?
That's
Sunday?
exactly it.
Well, had it have been, let me ask you this: had they and Jason Lloyd is in from The Athletic. He's in for Ken Carman today, who's wrapping up his trip to Disney World. So, if Flacco doesn't complete that pass to Njoku, get him lined up to kick the game-winning field goal against the Packers, would this have been a week earlier? Ken and I thought it was, just because how does Kevin Stefanski's in the locker room talking about how we stick together like we always do.
Yeah.
And, at that point, you're not going to make a move, even despite the fact that he had played lousy for the entire game and the offense was terrible.
Yeah, I was talking to Tyvis Powell at halftime of that Packers game, and I think I told him then, I think it's time to write that it's time to go to Dylan. And then they pull out that miraculous comeback. I don't think they would have made the move yet regardless. Even if they lost, I think they wanted to give him one more game. I think.
Yeah. Well, so we got the depth chart yesterday. Everybody was wondering, what does this mean? What does this mean for Flacco? Is he going to be done? Is he going to ask to get traded or cut or whatever? Well, he's the backup. He is the backup, at least for now. The question is, how long does that last? So obviously, as you can imagine, the media wanted to get into that locker room yesterday and talk to all involved, including Shedeur Sanders, who's been criticized for having to say anything as the third-string quarterback. Well, now he's the backup quarterback. Oh, and did he have anything to say yesterday in the locker room concerning the depth chart and that Joe Flacco and not Shedeur Sanders
here you go.
was picked?
Here's the questions.
Vocally, anything to say? I guess yourself. I guess one more. I guess what do you think you have to show to the coaches just to have that belief in you that you can be ready? What can you say?
Do I need to paint a picture here for the people in Radio Land?
As Spencer put on Twitter yesterday, pantomime is what.
Pantomime, that's a good word. Is that what he was doing yesterday?
I didn't see any box work. I didn't see any rope pulls.
He was opening his mouth.
Yes.
The words were not coming out. Maybe he had talked so much.
Lost his voice?
That he lost his voice. Anyway, he was having fun yesterday, but yet, I knew exactly what he was doing. I was surprised that anybody was like, what is this? What is he doing? Well, he's been getting crushed by the Rex Ryans of the world and others for opening his mouth. Why is the third string quarterback having anything to say each and every week? Where is this happening around the NFL? And then yesterday, I think he was trying to have fun. Jason, were you having fun with him?
No, I was not in there. Why are we still talking to the third string quarterback? Why? Why is the media? Why are we doing this? And there's a lot of reasons to people that the media gets blamed for things, and I think it's not exactly the case. And this one, you are 100% right to blame us. 100% right. Stop putting cameras and microphones in the face of the third string quarterback. He was never going to be the backup. Never. Anyone who pays any attention to this team, who knows how they think, who knows how they're operating, he was never going to be the backup. Stop talking to the third string quarterback. Stop. And if you're the Browns, stop letting him in the locker room during media availability.
That was my next point.
There are places all over that building to hide. It's 45 minutes. You tell him, go sit in the hot tub for 45 minutes.
Can I raise a slight objection? Give me a counterpoint?
Go ahead.
Jason Lloyd, if you are the editor-in-chief, I know you do have a nice little role over there at The Athletic, but if you're the editor-in-chief and you've got some young, intrepid Cub reporters who are asking you, what do I have to do today? You're not telling them to put a microphone?
I am not, no.
Did you see the numbers?
I know.
Spencer German, how many impressions?
I know.
On that yesterday, and he wasn't the only one. Everybody was paying attention. We looked up on the night show on ESPN. Scott Van Pelt was showing the clip of Shedeur Sanders.
I don't care. Could we have a modicum of self-respect? Just a modicum. They are empty calories. It's all meaningless. No, I'm not. So it's funny because a couple weeks ago when the
12.7 million views on Spencer German's video.
When listen,
12.7 million views, and you're telling people to not put a microphone.
Yes,
in
that's
Shedeur
exactly
Sanders'
what I'm
face.
saying.
This guy's box office. Every time we mention him, look at the YouTube live right now. Every time we mention him, the numbers go
and they
crazy.
are empty. And they are empty calories. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. There's no substance there whatsoever. Like, this is the problem with media today, and I'm saying that as someone who's worked in the media for 25 years. What are we doing?
What we're doing is if you're monetizing properly in the digital space, we are making money. That's what we're doing on the backs of Shedeur Sanders.
No, listen, I'm not. You mentioned Spencer. I really like Spencer. I'm not picking on him. How much money is he going to make for those 12.7 million views?
Listen to Jason breaking it down.
Zero off Twitter. Zero.
Why is ESPN? Why is every national show? Why are the debate shows? Why is First Take every single day? First things first. Mulligan Stew and Breakfast Ball. Why are they bringing it up?
And this is why we are where we are. This is why. Because this is so stupid. It's so dumb. And the Browns have got to tell them, do not be in the locker room. Just don't be in there. If that's how it's going to be, don't go in there.
Honestly, from the Browns' perspective, and I honestly wonder how the Browns have been walking the line here, because I had heard, and we were joking about the production crew that follow him everywhere. They've been asking for a lot more access. They wanted more credentials for everybody to be able to film. Everything's a documentary now, and it's not just Shedeur, by the way. This is the next wave of quarterbacks coming up. This is the way they're being programmed. Yeah. It's obviously he is on another scale because of who his dad is. They have television contracts. He has a talk show.
Yeah.
I don't know, has anybody ever watched the talk show?
No.
The Deion Sanders said the dad of a quarterback of the Cleveland Browns has a talk show, and not one person I know is actually tuned in. Is it on Tubi or Freebie?
Nobody
or
watches any shows anymore. They just watch clips.
Right.
Everybody just watches clips.
That is true. Everything we do is just, I do a 4-hour show and it's just clips.
Clips.
That is amazing how that works. But I do wonder at what point the Browns are like, dude, we can't have it, because now.
This is why 31 other teams said, we are not doing this. We are not making our third string quarterback or a backup quarterback the spectacle.
All right, let me ask the boss. You heard Jason Lloyd of The Athletic saying, stop putting a microphone in the face of Shedeur Sanders. Keith Britton, you're pretty good at this stuff, making these types of decisions. Are we doing it too much, Keith, or do you want more of our employees sticking microphones in the face of Shedeur Sanders?
Who is throwing out the first pitch at the Guardians game today? Put him out there. Flying back from London, put him out there.
Well, it was Jan Gomes yesterday. I don't know if we know today.
I don't know.
By the way, I would agree with a lot of what Jason's saying, but I also see the numbers and people care, and people are in the chat every day, even without mentioning his name. They're mentioning him in this quarterback discussion. But I would also say, like, the Browns, obviously, there are parts of that building that do not want this talked about. They don't want this, like, out in the media all the time. His name, like, you can tell Kevin's annoyed when he gets asked some of these questions, and I don't know how he truly feels about Shedeur, but from the media, the questions that he's getting yesterday, even about making Shedeur the backup, he was very quick with his answer. You could tell he did not want any part of that. But also, you walk in that stadium on Sundays, and it's one of the first 2 or 3 jerseys that you see. So what message is that sending to people when the organization is trying to monetize off this? The organization is pushing it because they're selling jerseys. So what do you expect? Like, I don't know. Like, people get mad that the questions are asked, but the organization is wanting it both ways. They're wanting not the questions to be asked, but they're also pushing it and saying, buy his jersey because he's eventually going to be on the field.
They're the ones that invited this in when they drafted him. And this is why 31 other teams said, nope, not doing it.
But I will say, there's no way. We joke about thought partners, thought companions. There's no way all sides of the building have the same messaging here, because this is causing problems for some of the building. Other parts of the building are loving every minute of this.
Yes. So let me ask you this, Jason, because I talked to Lima about this yesterday too.
Yeah.
The Joe Flacco backup experience right now, like if Dylan was to go down over the next 2 or 3 games, or if he just wasn't great or something wasn't clicking, they wouldn't probably hesitate to go back to Joe. But at what point does that turn from Joe to Shedeur? Because that can't be a long-term thing. Like a month from now, if you're giving Dylan 4 or 5 games and all of a sudden it's looking like, man, he's just not got it. We're out. The season's done. We also got to see at that point, you got to turn to Shedeur as the backup, right? I mean, he's got to be the next guy at that point.
No, I don't. I'm not going to say definitively no, like he's never going to play this year, but he's got a long way to go before he gets on the field. I think,
like if it's week 11, week 12, and they've got 4 or 5 games left, you think they would rather go back to Joe with the season over than Shedeur?
With where things are right now, yes. Now, Shedeur can make a lot of progress between now and week 11, week 12, and maybe that answer changes. Because I remember going through the DTR thing last year and thinking, all right, we'll just throw the kid out there. And boy, did those few weeks take a lot longer to get through than I thought that they would. So
I would tell you, as loud as the fans are now, they will be even louder at that point.
You can't worry about that. You can't worry about the fans if you're the Browns.
I know that, but they have obviously felt the pressure to this point. I don't know that, like, being 1-3, you would think that's a very short leash to Joe Flacco. Like, your season's not over. I mean, we all see the games and we all know that. But at 1-3, your season's not over. If you're turning away from Joe Flacco after 4 games, like, that's at that point, I would be, as a fan, I'm like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 games to go, and you're going back to Joe Flacco at that point. I'm getting pretty loud about Shedeur if you're never even giving the guy a shot.
Week 14, week 15, maybe. I mean, I have no way of predicting the future. I think Shedeur's got a long way to go before they feel comfortable putting him out on the field. A really long way to go. We
can all agree, like you led the discussion with, they put themselves in this position.
They put themselves in this position. They welcome this sort of tire fire when they
will happily take the numbers.
Keith, how many reporters, how many on staff can you commit to going to every open locker room from here on out, seeing the numbers? 12.7 million views. I think they just got another 500,000 on Spencer German's account since we started talking about it.
I think it's crazy that people, I want to see the length. You know, they have the analytics that tell you how long people made it into the video, how long they watched it.
Right.
If there's no words coming out of his mouth, how are you watching that? Like, what are you trying? Are you lip reading? What are you doing?
Amazing. Thank you, Keith. I appreciate it. Let me go to the phones real quick because we got Matt Derry going to talk some Guards baseball Game 3 season on the line. I'm sure he'll be thrilled about all the Shedeur talk. Jim and Perry, go ahead. How are you, Jim?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Up?
I just don't really. Couple points. One, the season is over. Anybody who doesn't think that the season isn't over, they're lying to themselves. I've seen that offense. The offense isn't getting any better. The offensive line isn't getting any better. Our receivers aren't going to catch the ball. And I want to know who's evaluating these quarterbacks and what their track record is for saying if Shedeur has it or not. You know what I mean? Like, we haven't had anything here since Baker left. This team is like, it literally drives me nuts. It's like watching the Titanic, rooting for the ship. You get disappointed.
All right, Jim, thank you very much.
The ship hits the iceberg every time I see the movie.
I mean, obviously, the problem is that you didn't have the first-round picks, and so you knew the risk-reward of the Deshaun Watson thing. The risk was you had a Super Bowl team ready to go, top 5 quarterback, bring him in, and win at the highest level and compete with the Lamars, the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allens, the Joe Burrows. The flip side of that is if this doesn't work, and it was the total flip side.
Yeah.
What were you supposed to do?
It destroys your organization.
Yeah, and by the way, they made the playoffs a couple of years ago, so it didn't destroy them there. And they're still have one of the best defenses in the league.
They're paying for it now.
Let's go to Nicholas and Shard. Go ahead quickly.
Hey, guys, just want to chip in here real quick. Jason, you personally, if this is not Cleveland, are we even discussing about a backup quarterback who didn't say anything in the locker room?
Well, no, if he did this in Dallas or Detroit.
Are, but nationally they are.
Yeah, they're still doing it. Because it's Shedeur.
I get it, it's Shedeur, but it just seems like it's just we've created this cauldron of mediocrity, and now we just keep fueling to the fire to it. It just seems like it's getting out of control.
All right, thank you. And Bryce in Cleveland, go ahead. Go ahead. We lost him. Let's go to Cool Ray. Cool Ray, what's up? Last comment on this.
Man? I'm going to make a comment because what's the narrative is what I'm upset about is that even Albert is over here calling this man stupid and dumb without really calling him stupid and dumb. They said he's so far behind Gabriel and that he's just stupid and dumb. We hear Rex Ryan talking about getting in front of the classroom, and we know.
Well, where do you think all that's coming from, Cool Ray? Where do you think?
That's actually coming from the Browns organization. We know that. But they're calling them stupid and dumb, and it's almost like, because I'm a military guy, and it's almost like what the Navy did in the early 60s by calling black people, saying that we couldn't become divers because we couldn't see at night. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so you're saying there's coded language coming out when it comes to the Shedeur conversation?
It's absolutely coded language because we know what he can do physically. They're basically saying he's just stupid. That's basically what they're calling it, and that's what's making everybody so upset. Like,
I listen. Corey, I'm so sorry. I gotta go. I wanted your comments out there because I saw them on the screen. I think this is what's driving the Shedeur people crazy. They feel like he doesn't get to react to what everybody is leaking about him. And to that, I understand. Like, that's got to be very frustrating.
Well, he's got a camera in his face every week now. He can react however he wants.
Well, what's his next move? Because Keith Britton and all the bosses in town and nationally, they're going to flock to this. They smell the blood. There are going to be cameras in his face every single time. And now I do wonder, how does Shedeur deal with this? Maybe more importantly, how do the Browns deal with it? Because it does feel like a one-sided attack right now on Shedeur, who's just, by all accounts, he's working. He's working. He might be at Baldwin Wallace. He might be at a high school near you, but he's trying to get back on the field. All right, we'll leave it there. We have some Guardians baseball to talk about. Win or go home. They survived to a Game 3, and now we know it is a loser leaves town match, I guess, figuratively speaking. That's coming up. Matt Derry, Derry Brothers Podcast. He sizes it all up next on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. Anthony Lima for
all be better. We need to coach better. We need to block better, catch better, run better, all of the above. We need to be better. And I know the quarterback position gets quite a bit of scrutiny. I understand that.
This is the radio home of the Cleveland Browns.
This is about our entire team playing better.
92.3 The Fan.
I'm dizzy. And I feel like Jason owes an apology to Spencer German. My God. Went on the attack. The poor youngster is just making his bones in the business. He gets millions of views, and, Jason Lloyd's like, why are you putting a microphone in front of his face?
No. Listen, real quick, before we go to Matt, because I said I probably need to reach out to Spencer. I never was going to mention anyone by name. You're the one that dragged his name into it. So then...
But you remember young Akron Beacon Journal Jason Lloyd.
Oh, I remember young Lorraine Morning Journal Jason Lloyd back 25 years. I remember. And again, that Spencer, this has nothing to do with Spencer at all. It's just in general. He wasn't the only one there. There's a bunch of cameras there. My whole point
there's different angles. We've got multiple angles.
You had them running from other directions, too, once they saw that.
Oh, of course.
So
yes.
They saw it, like I said,
it's like blood in the water. Once a couple cameras go up, then they all come over. I know how it goes. And
you know what? I remember the days when Matt Derry was a young Syracuse journalism sports star, and I know what Matt Derry would have done in that situation. Matt, welcome to the show on the Fan Hotline. How you feeling today?
What is Jason doing? What is happening? I need to be filled in here.
So you think we should talk to the third string quarterback every week?
No, of course. Oh, was it Spencer?
It was on Scott Van Pelt. We had Spencer German and other reporters locally. They put a microphone.
Why? Stop mentioning Spencer's name. Why are you making this about Spencer?
He did the right thing, and our boss backed him up. He came on, and Matt, you know the journalism
You're making it sound like we're attacking Spencer German for this.
You mean Spencer German, who's on Saturdays on this very station? Yeah.
Lyman keeps mentioning his name every 8 seconds, like he's the one that started this whole thing.
He's up to 15 million views now on that last Shador say. Anyway, Shador wasn't having any of it.
I saw it.
I saw it. It was crazy. Anyway, Matt, Dairy Brothers podcast. Terrific job. I've been listening. I've been locked into you the last 3 weeks. I should have been locked into you for years. What a sensational job. To think about the roller coaster of emotions. There might have been a show early in the season when it was Sell the Team radio, and now here we are, a chance to go to the ALDS. How are you feeling about today?
I feel good, but again, these two teams are so evenly matched. Yesterday was, obviously the score was not indicative. It sounds like such a cliche of what happened in the game. Great to see the offense finally wake up. This whole Rocktober, playoff Rokio, whatever you want to call it, is alive and well. This guy had an OPS of over 900 last October, and now, as Zach Meisel pointed out, Jason's guy in The Athletic, Jose told him to look for that fastball, and then on 0-2 takes 100 miles per hour and turns it around. Just unbelievable. And then to add on, get the kind of pitching they've got in the first 2 games. I know everybody talked about Skubal, but, the Guardians' pitching has been pretty darn good. Gavin Williams was very good. Tanner Bybee bobbed and weaved but did his job. And now today it's on Slade Ciccone, and I also think you're going to see Joey Cantillo today. You have to.
Matt, there's no reason they can't get 8 innings out of those 2 guys. They're both stretched out as starters. If they're both on, you can easily expect to get 7 or 8 innings out of them and take a little bit of the load off this bullpen, no?
You kind of have to, Jason. I think that Cade Smith has thrown a ton of pitches the last 2 days, and I don't think they want to stay away from them. If they have to use them, they will. I think all hands are on deck, but no, you're right. I think this, I'm not necessarily calling this a piggyback game. If Siccone's rolling, you stick with him.
Let him go, yes.
But they turning what we saw yesterday from A.J. Hinch, which I could not believe. I understand, and being in Michigan, I see plenty of Tiger games, and I know Riley Green struggles against lefties, but to pull a guy hitting 36 bombs and 116 RBI for Jahmai Jones was
absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved every minute of it. I couldn't believe it, and I was sitting there going, "Holy cow!" When they got out of that inning, we were feeling the same way in studio. We're like, "Here we go. We got a chance."
Matt, this platoon crap has become an epidemic that has taken over the game, and it is not good for the game.
No, I agree, and especially when you got a guy, like I said, that was an all-star and might win a Silver Slugger, and he's being pulled for Jahmai Jones. Not that Jahmai Jones is bad, but no one knows. Most of the people don't know who that is, and he didn't deliver. Obviously, Herron was unbelievable, and give Tim credit. He has really turned it around. But no, I agree. I think you'll see Cantillo today, but it all depends on where Ciccone is in terms of how many times through the order and if they're getting hard contact. But really, neither team has put a lot of hard contact on the baseball the first 2 days.
All right, Matt Derry, the Derry Brothers podcast. So let's talk about like the scene there, because even Sean McDonough had mentioned it had been getting quiet. He had 2 hits going into the 8th inning. Obviously, it was huge that they blew the thing wide open. Then they ended up needing all that because they were able to load up the bases after the Rocchio error. But with that place coming alive and starting to feel like real October, do you think that might have woken up the bats here?
That's the hope. I mean, look, the other day it was very difficult for fans to be down there at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday on a tough turnaround when you didn't know until Sunday when you were playing. I think it was more full yesterday. Obviously today, I think it'll be raucous, and this is a winner go home situation for both teams. But yeah, I mean, the hope is now that there's some confidence. I mean, you feel so down after facing a guy like Tarek Skubal, who's the best in the world, and strikes you out 14 times, that there was a little carryover into the start of the game yesterday, certainly, against a pretty good pitcher in Casey Mize. But now there's a little drop-off here. Skubal and Mize are both all-stars. Mize won 14 games and had a sub-4 ERA this year and really pitched well last weekend in Boston when they needed him to. Now you're going to Flaherty, who has a history of pitching pretty well against the Guardians, even going back to his days in St. Louis, but has been very hittable this year. So I think there's a little bit of a step down, too, from Bybee to Ciccone, but Slade has shown this year that he can get it done. I would hope, yes, that the bats continue to. I mean, look, I'm not expecting an offensive explosion. That's just not what this offense is. But at least the kids are out there. I know Jason wrote about it too. I read your stuff this morning, Jason. It was great. That at least we're getting to see DeLauder and Valera, and I think that does kind of jumpstart these guys. And the guys that aren't playing, like Angel Martinez and others that actually got benched yesterday, I don't think they care. I think they're in it to win it, and they're happy for those guys. And I'd keep the lineup the same that it was yesterday and roll.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think we're going to see the exact same lineup. And going back to the platoon thing, the thing I'm worried about is as soon as A.J. Hinch goes to Tyler Horton, we're going to see Jonathan Rodriguez and Jhonkensy Noel and Valera and DeLauder are going to be out of the game. But just your thoughts on DeLauder's debut and Valera coming up with a big home run and the fact that finally, it looks like there's some length in this power, perhaps, potentially coming to the Guardians lineup.
I mean, Valera, we've been waiting for years, and it's just been a health thing. And then to hit a ball 411 feet into right center with that wind yesterday.
With that wind was fierce, yeah.
Pretty sweet. And you could see with the swing, and everybody that's watched the videos from Akron and Columbus when he was down there, everybody knew George Valera had that in him and has that swing. Again, he's young. He's only played 17 games or whatever it is in the majors. So, I love that he ran into that one yesterday. And I'm with you. If they go to Tyler Holton, which they will, or they're going to go to Herter early in the game if they need to, you've got to keep those guys in there. I'd rather Noel's lost. I know it's a matchup thing. Maybe J-Rod gets an opportunity, but man, I'd rather see DeLauder and Valera I'd rather see them get in there and fight something off than see those other two guys right now. It is a little bit of a knock on those other guys, and I know J-Rod was hot at the end of the year. But no, stick with the kids, because I think there's something about that. And there's some lightning in those bats. And DeLauder's at bats yesterday. Jason, come on. I mean, Anthony, those were really good ABs.
He's fouling those off. He's hanging in there.
Aggressive at the plate, swings to the first 2 pitches, falls down 0-2 and works a walk. I'll take that.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? They showed his
Valera,
family.
Valera does the same thing. If you watch George play the last month, he does the same thing. He's got a good eye.
I noticed they were showing his family. I swear to God, it was like 15 times, and that walk was awesome. You could see they were working their way through it, the roller coaster of emotions. So be honest, Matt, what did you think when that fly ball went to him and he started sizing it up? What were you thinking? What was going through your mind?
I knew what was coming, because I sat in the stadium on Tuesday and watched Angel Martinez really struggle with that same son, and that's a guy that's played center most of the season. Now, obviously, Angel came up as an infielder, but I was concerned with it. I think today, look, it's going to be a little bit different. It's a 3 o'clock game instead of a 1 o'clock game. Those shadows, I know the Darryl Ryder shadows bit is a great bit, but that'll creep in a lot earlier in the game. So that'll make it hard to hit. But again, in the shadows yesterday, guys, the Guardians scored 5 runs, which makes no sense. None of this makes any sense, to be honest with you.
I think the sun at 3 o'clock will probably impact more right field than center by that point. But still, it's going to be a factor.
No, I say I'm with you, Jason. I think they should stick with the same lineup.
Absolutely.
And roll with it. And again, you're right. The Tigers, what I found interesting at the start of the series was that they have 2 guys not on the playoff roster, lefties, and Drew Summers and Bailey Horn, who aren't big names, but they're both left-handed relievers, and they didn't put them on the roster, which surprised me because all these teams have done the same thing, and that's just load up the pen with lefties and go to it. And Hinch knows that, but I was surprised yesterday he didn't go to Herder before Melton. Now, I know Herder gave up the homer anyway, but I would have started the inning with Herder and not Melton, but those are mistakes he made.
And by the way, Chase DeLauder this year against left-handed pitching, OPS over 1,100. I know it's minor leaguers. I know. Give him a chance, man.
I'm with you.
I'll take Chase DeLauder against a lefty over John Kenzie Noel and Jonathan Rodriguez every single time.
I'll take him against a guy with no arms at this point over, Kenzie Noel. All right, Matt, a question here with 31 pitches yesterday from Cade Smith, 19 the game before. I know they'll say all the right things. He'll want to pitch. Vogt will say he's available. How available is he today? How much you trust in him?
I'm not putting him out there in the 8th inning and telling him to get 4 outs. No way. I think this would have to be a 9th inning only situation or a 10th inning only situation in 1 inning, but that would be it. I mean, you got to think about his future. You got to think about Saturday if they get there. I know there's an off day tomorrow, but man, I mean, he threw a lot of pitches, and I know there's people that say, well, why didn't you take him out when it was 6-1 and just put Festa or somebody else in and save him? But you want to put that game away and lock it up. He's already warm. He already pitched and got an out in the 8th when he struck out Meadows. So
we talked about that earlier, Matt. Can you imagine if he pulled him and put Festa in and they blow the game? Like, that's a fireable offense as a manager, that your season ends because you pulled your closer in the 9th inning. You cannot do that. Once he's out there, you have to leave him out there.
No, you have to win that game.
Yep.
And it got a little dicey, and Roquel made the error and everything else, but you got to just finish that game off and worry about tomorrow. And now that's today. But I'd expect to see him. I think it's going to be a close game again. That's how these teams have been playing since last October.
All right, Matt, we got to go, but I know you live in Detroit, so you're hearing them every day on the radio. You're listening to the fans. You have the pulse of the people up there in Michigan. Are they blaming payroll if this doesn't go right? $160 million, way below all the other teams?
The Tigers?
Yeah. I just laugh about how many teams this time of year are still, their fan bases are still talking payroll, and all of a sudden we got the boppers in the series.
Well, no, Anthony. I mean, they do go after ownership here. Their trade deadline acquisitions were like Chris Paddock and others that did not work out. Charlie Morton. They didn't exactly pad themselves at the deadline when they had the best record in the American League. So there's some anger there. Right now they're after A.J. Hinch for pinch hitting for Riley Green. I wonder if that carries over to today. Green said after the game he's good with it. He's all in. He understands, but come on, that's got to be a little bit of a shocker to the dugout when your 36 and 116 guy got pinch hit for. That was stunning to me.
All right, Dairy Brothers podcast. You guys are available like right after the game. It's been incredible stuff. Let's hope we have another week of podcasting and radio and you coming on the show.
All right, boys. Appreciate you.
All right, there he is.
Thanks, Matt.
Matt, Dairy Brothers podcast, Odyssey app. They have been sensational. All right, when we come back, it does present a very interesting question about just how big of a game is this. I want to ask Jason Lloyd flat out, do they got to win this game? Is it an absolute must-win to validate everything that's happened over the last few months of the year? Jason Lloyd is in for Ken Carman here on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. XTENDAV.com.
Ryder is on top of every headline. Listen to his reports on the station with the most local sports talk in town. 92.3 The Fan, powered by Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
Listen to every snap of Dylan Gabriel's debut on Sunday.
Gabriel shotgun, pump fake, throws, end zone for the touchdown.
Your number one source for breaking news. Stream us at work. 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app and 92.3thefan.com.
Get the latest from Browns practice throughout the week right now on our YouTube channel. Dale Ryder recaps each and every practice and game while featuring the best highlights from coaches and players during media availability. And to my knowledge, has not shoved a camera in front of Shedeur Sanders yet. So you'll get all the on-field action from Daryl and everything else surrounding the Browns. Subscribe to 92.3 The Fan channel on YouTube now and get all the latest from Dale Ryder on the Browns throughout the season.
He's also doing Guardians post-game recaps, too, and he's giving you like a tight 5 minutes on the things you need to hear.
Have you seen the numbers he's getting with Baskin after the Browns games?
They've been
on YouTube, absolutely blowing up. I know, Jason Lawyer, how much money are you going to make from it? Apparently that's all he cares about when he got into it with Spencer German earlier in the show.
Would you stop?
Mary Kay
I knew
Cabot,
it was a mistake coming in and doing the show with you.
Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer joins us at 8:20. We'll get her read on everything going on with the Browns. Why wasn't Shedeur Sanders made the backup? Why is it still old man Joe Flacco? That's all straight ahead. The Cleveland Guardians have a pretty big game today. Yesterday was an elimination game, and they woke up in the 8th inning, finally. And now it feels like maybe some momentum, if you believe in that kind of thing. They're favored in the game today. Game 3 at Progressive Field, not at 108. It's at 308. We think it could be a pretty big crowd. Did you see who's throwing out the first pitch? I got it.
Oh, who is
officially? Roberto Perez. Because we had Jan Gomes and Lonnie Chisenhall.
Yeah.
So let's cut to the chase. This has been a storybook. I can't say season. I can say it's been a storybook last month of the baseball season. Helping you forget about a 10-game losing streak, a 9-game losing streak, slashing payroll after an ALCS appearance a year ago. What they did to finish out the season, I said, was historic. They give a World Series every year. You don't see 15 and a half games getting wiped out of a deficit. So, Lloyd, do they got to win today to validate everything they just did at the end of the year?
No, I don't think they do. We talked about this Monday. We talked about this toward the end of the regular season. I thought they needed to make the playoffs. I mean, they were in the ALCS last year, and they responded to going to the ALCS by canceling Guards Fest and trading 2 of their starters from a lineup that wasn't very good to begin with. So that's hard to come back from. And I understood, like I've defended them 100 times for the Jimenez trade. I get what they were trying to do with Naylor, create an asset. Sacconi's been great. They thought they could get marginally replaceable value in Naylor with Santana. Obviously, Santana's done. They let him go. Kafis has been great.
And Naylor became Usain Bolt all of a sudden.
Yeah, I know, right? But the reason why I think that there should be, I don't want to say next year. That's the big joke in Cleveland. But again, we talked about it all morning. When you look at, if these guys can stay healthy, and that's the biggest thing, you have a lot of reason to be optimistic going forward with this team, with guys like DeLauder. And there's no reason for Chase DeLauder or George Valera to ever play another inning in the minor leagues unless it's another rehab assignment. Like
Agreed.
One's 24 and one's 23. They've done their time. Stephen Vogt said yesterday, we've just been waiting all year for DeLauder to be healthy. He's healthy. Let's go. And it just so happens that he's healthy as the playoffs begin. There's no reason for them to start next year. I don't want to hear about contract manipulation, all that stuff. They can start next year in this lineup in April. The Quan thing will be interesting to see what they do with him this winter. But there is reason to believe that like this lineup is rounding into shape. The rotation has been great. Gavin Williams, Zach Meisel and I talked yesterday in the press box. I said, do you really believe this is Gavin emerging as that guy? And Zach said, yeah. Because I'm like, man, I still don't know. And Zach's like, no, this is it. Like, he's here. He has arrived. Bibby's been better over September, although his numbers against Detroit are far better than they are against everybody else. But if you believe in Bibby sort of figuring things out, Sacconi's been great. Joey Cantillo's been terrific since he came back from the minors. He's been aggressive, attacking the strike zone. You have reason to believe that, like, man, they're really building something here. So, no, I don't think that they need to win this series to validate what they did over the last month. Just seeing, again, with the lineup that they put out there yesterday, it's like, okay, finally. It took 164 games. It took multiple years. Finally, this is the lineup. And now you got Bazzano hopefully coming next year as well. So there is legitimately reason for optimism with where this lineup is headed, and you always believe in the pitching.
Listen, Lloyd, I'm with you on all of that, and I have been a big believer, almost to a fault, I'll admit, in giving them the benefit of the doubt. They've earned it. Not ownership, but
the organization as a whole has earned the benefit of the doubt.
But with that being said, you're not going to have to be here tomorrow to answer for it, but you know what it's going to be if they lose, especially if the offense is shaky, especially if they go to Noel and it's like, where are the bats? You didn't pay for bats. You could have paid. You could have had. I know the names that get brought up. It's like, all right, are any of these reasonable? They're not going to go from this payroll to paying a guy $25 million.
Honestly,
people talk about Pete Alonso next year. No, it's not happening.
I don't want to turn this into a payroll discussion at 10 to 8 before Game 3. My whole thing with them is just pay your guys. If you can retain, with as good as this farm system is believed to be right now, the condition that it's in, although they've missed on quite a few guys that we thought were going to be bigger hits than what they were, if you can just retain guys like Quan. And the pitching, they did sign Bybee. Pitchers are a little bit more, it's harder to invest in pitching today because so many guys have Tommy John and you lose 20% of the contract or 25% of the contract to rehab. But if you can just retain some of these hitters that you hope that are going to develop, I think it changes the entire conversation around this team.
All right, 216-474-0092. I want to hear from the fans. We got them lined up. I promise. We got somebody from London, England, probably getting ready for the Browns game. They want to weigh in on this. If you guys can hold through the break, I want to get your reaction. We know it's a must-win to save the season, but is it a must-win to validate the beautiful ride that we have been on over the last month of this baseball season, which has been giving me, my family, some memories I didn't think we were going to get. But do they need to win today? That's coming up next here. Plus Mary Kay Cabot at 8:20 on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. Anthony Lima for Diamonds Direct.
Listen to The Fan Rewind weeknights 11 to midnight. All the best segments from all our shows. You can always listen on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
All the Browns and NFL news you may have missed at work. The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. 92.3 The Fan.
Can't do that to me, Lloyd. What a tease. The teases are supposed to be on the air for people to hear. He's giving me juicy nuggets. See, guys, here's the thing about journalists. Well, in 2025, what's a journalist? But
just a kid with a camera and a light.
That's true.
But the whole point is journalists who work beats or who are around enough decision makers, they take in a lot of information, but they can't just give it out all the time because then, guess what? No one will give them information ever again. So they have to be very, very cautious, very strategic when they're going to give that information. And we've got a lot of good ones in town that will sit on stuff that matters, good background. And when it's time, then it's time. Then you guys will read about it and you'll be like, oh, okay, now I understand why they did that, or at least give some explanation. Jason just gave me a nugget and then the music started. Break. And you said, well, I have to wait now.
I said, I'll tell you later.
I disagree with everything you said except for the part where you said you guys will go, oh, I understand now. They absolutely never understand.
Well, that's
they just
true.
go, why did you say this?
Why did you say this early? Why are you telling me this now?
I know. Well, then,
what's the famous Simmons line? So now you tell us.
Then now you tell us at the end of the year, which happens all the time. Now we still got a lot of football left. When all is said and done, at one point, I'm excited. I'm excited to hear on how the Guardians decided to put out Chase DeLauder out in center field in his first ever game, and it's a postseason game, and he's dropping the ball. And you know what? He recovered. Did you love between the two? And we got a baseball game today, 3:08, that determines, the fate of humanity between the Detroit Tigers and the Guardians. And I'm going to get to the phone, so you've got them all lined up. 216-474-0092, Mary Kay at 8:20. I loved seeing, and the cameras caught this yesterday on ESPN, I loved seeing Bybee go over to DeLauder in the clubhouse, in the dugout, and you could tell, like I don't know how many times those guys have ever talked. I have no idea how many times they've ever talked.
They hadn't seen each other since the spring.
Well, they've probably played minor league games together.
Yeah.
DeLauder was a first round pick in 22. I'm trying to think if they would have crossed paths. Bybee was here. Bybee was probably they probably haven't played in the minors together.
And so the cameras caught them.
Here's what Tanner said post game yesterday on what he said to DeLauder.
They put him out there in center field, and it was battling the sun and the wind. I mean, it's not an easy play. He dropped it, but it just doesn't matter because I feel like even if that run did score, it wouldn't have mattered because it's a hard play and one of those things where I'm going to have your back, and eventually you're going to get my back as well. And literally, it came a little earlier than expected. I mean, that play kind of kept us in the game and allowed our offense in the eighth inning to kind of do what they do.
So that's what Tanner said. Here's DeLauder's version of that same thing.
He came in the dugout. I mean, I apologized to him. Of course, he got us out of it. He was just like, man, you're going to have my back at some point. Having that reassurance and knowing that stuff happens, and obviously had to throw that, I felt like was a little momentum shift, not only for me, but for some of the other guys. And, Jose made an unbelievable play at third with the tag. Felt like we kind of took that into the rest of the game. It
was an unbelievable turn of events. For him, the heads-up play to go right to third, to limit everything and to make sure that they could stay in that game.
And Dylan Dingler, the kid from Jackson, he's turning around and looking at the play at third and not crossing home plate.
Right.
Yeah, that's bad.
Right.
He needs to score on that. You got to go.
It was unbelievable. I didn't realize because I didn't had the kids and I couldn't have the sound all the way up. I was like, I'm doing the math. I'm like, all right, well, they scored another one here. And I didn't realize that was part of the review.
Right.
And when the crowd went nuts, I'm like, all right, the crowd, they get it. They get how important that is. No, they went nuts because it saved a run.
They took a run off the board.
It saved a run. Yeah, they took a run off the board. It was incredible. The whole thing, what a make good. And then you talked about his plate appearances, the at-bats. Making them work in a playoff game is everything. It's why we loved Rocchio last year. And Rocchio had the 8-game hit streak. You can rely on some youngsters. I was just Man, in your first game ever to drop that ball and to recover.
Well, it's easy for Bybee to go slap him on the shoulder when the run doesn't score.
Right. And he says it wouldn't have mattered.
It's easy to say that when you win the game and that run doesn't score, but in the moment, it matters. If that run comes around to score and you're in a 1-0 hole.
Especially because how did game one start? Jonathan Rodriguez letting the ball tip off his glove, and they scored a run off of it.
It was a minor league play.
Here we go again.
It was a JV play. It was so bad that he let that one go. But the rest is history. The Bats woke up in the 8th inning, and now what a turn of events. The Guardians are favored in today's game. And we were joking about no Skubal, and someone's like, "Oh, are you sure Skubal's not going to pitch?" The beauty is now that you've got kind of an even Steven situation in this game. You've gotten to Flaherty before. You can certainly do it again. The Cade Smith part of this is something, we've kind of been dangling all day. Like, can you have any confidence that he can go out there in a big time situation? Jason, you're like, well, he's not going up against 4 batters. You're not giving him that kind of a role today.
You're certainly not bringing him in the 8th where he has to sit down and then get back up for the 9th. No. We had Matt Derry on earlier. Matt said he's only getting 1 inning. I agree. At most, if he's available at all, he's only going winning 50 pitches over the last 2 days.
Well, so you talk about high leverage situations. Your season's on the line.
We talked about this last year.
It'd be nice to have Class A, but obviously he's not in the cards.
Zach wrote about this last year about the tension and stress on every pitch. And one pitch feels like 3 in terms of mental and physical exhaustion. Bybee was up, talking about that first inning, Bybee was up 1.5 miles on his fastball in the first inning over normal. Normally he sits around 94. And after he got into trouble and the adrenaline's going, it's the first inning, he was throwing 90. I think his fastest pitch was 96.9. So that's all adrenaline, but that's also wear and tear on your arm and on your body that you're throwing harder than you're used to throwing. So I don't know if Cade's available at all, to be quite honest. He went,
and that's a big blow. You needed to use him. We all agree. Yeah. Like we didn't know there was going to be an outpouring of runs. All of a sudden, you couldn't foresee that.
I just think it's a risk it's a huge risk if you go to him, because if you go to him, there's no guarantee you're going to get. I mean, he struggled at times when he's rested. Yeah. He's not exactly automatic yet in that closer role. He's been very good, but he's not what Clase was.
Does it matter where they are in the lineup? Where Detroit is?
I want to say yes, it matters. If you got a 1-run game in the 9th inning, what are you doing?
Well, I'm saying if it's 6, 7, 8, like I would feel a little bit better about bringing
going to somebody else.
Yeah, if Kerry Carpenter's standing in the box, it's not like that guy.
See, I go the other way.
Kerry Carpenter's a bopper, right? And then you look at his actual stats, and he's whatever. But against us, I feel like, especially in the crunch time stuff, I don't want to pitch to that guy.
See, I'd go the other way. If it's 6, 7, 8, I'd feel more comfortable with somebody else, and then holding Cade until you absolutely. I mean, if you're going to burn him, you better burn him against Spencer Torkelson and Kerry Carpenter, and unless they pinch hit Riley Green again in the 7th.
Well, it's one of those things like, can we get Hunter? Maybe that Junis. I've had doubts about him, but he's looked great.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of. There are options, but Cade Smith's supposed to be the guy now.
Yeah. Hopefully they can get 7 to 8 out of Ciccone and Cantillo. Yeah. I don't think that's unrealistic.
It's got to be 7. Like, you got to get into the 7th. And, even yesterday I'm looking, going, are they going to run out of pitchers? If this thing continues on before they got the home runs, then the barrage. I was getting very nervous about that, because I'm like, all right, even if you win today, because obviously Detroit's got their guys available. They might not have Skubal, but they have their other guys. All right, I'm going to get to the phones, lining them up. Mike in Newton Falls. Big one today, but do they need it to validate everything they did the last month of the year? Go ahead, Mike.
100% we have to win today. And that would close out this historic season. For us to come back from 15.5 games down and beat them guys, like that would be so that would put a.
How you feel, Mike? Do you feel like they're going to get it done?
Yes, I do. I have so much confidence. I feel like this team has the hit factor.
And you wonder if the floodgates opened up. I know Detroit fans are panicking. They are in a panicky Pete situation once they saw this young lineup of guys they've never heard of. Hell, I don't know how many people in Cleveland. The casual fans that jump on in the playoffs, they certainly don't even know some of these guys that were in the lineup yesterday with, your backs up against the wall. Robert in London. How are you, Robert?
Well, good. I just got finished walking past Freddie Mercury's house last segment. I was hoping by chance you would have taken my call while I was literally sitting in front of the house so I could hear that giggle from Jason sitting across from you.
There it is. There you got the giggle.
Go ahead, man. So I'm guessing you're there for the Browns game.
Yeah, definitely. I landed about 5 hours ago. I'm just walking around. I'm headed into town now. I'm going to get some food and stuff. And then there's a Browns backers bar that might have the game. If not, I'll be able to walk around London and listen to Hammy lose his mind if we somehow manage to win Game 3. So definitely looking forward to that in about, 6 hours?
I don't think Hammy's got any voice left. He needs the tea. He needs the lemon. Whatever. He needs all of it to get ready for today.
It's only the first round, man. We got a long way to go. Maybe.
Yes, I mean, like I said, it's like I'm excited for it. To validate this regular season, like you said last segment or earlier this segment, even if we get our backsides handed to us by Seattle, which I don't think is going to happen, I could see us taking at least one game. To validate this season, we need, in the comeback we made, we need to win this game, even if we get blown off by like 20, 30 points per game by Seattle. We need to at least win this game.
All right, thank you, Robert. I can already tell my wife when I told her there's another series and then another series. I think she was just rooting for them to lose yesterday.
Be done with it.
I think it was cute to see the kids in the Guardians gear. That was all fine and dandy. That's one photo for the Instagram. We got the photo op, and now I think she wants me to get back to, can you take the kids outside? Yep. Can you do this?
Yep.
As I was pacing. I mean, there was some major pacing going on because I knew when they had 2 hits going in the 8th, I knew the calls. I knew what we would be getting. Let's go to Brian in Gates Mills. Congratulations on all your success. How are you, Brian?
Good. How you guys doing this morning?
Hey, Brian.
Are you doing London as well?
Yeah, I'm leaving in about 2 hours. Got to fly to Detroit, and I got a 5-hour layover, so I'll be able to watch a little bit of this Tribe game.
Why not just drive to Detroit and fly direct?
Yeah, it's always the pickle.
First class, baby. First class.
See?
Congratulations on all your success.
That's how we hit on the east side. That's what we do.
That's
right
why
now.
they've got the beautiful picket fences out there in Gates Mills, all according to code.
I'm a single man in my 40s. I've got to do what I got to do, right?
I feel like we would have hung out in a prior life. Anyway, how are you feeling about today, though?
I'm excited. I'm really excited. I'm a huge fan of all sports. I travel the world, and I just want to say we're going to get this W.
I'd love to hear it, Brian. I'd love to hear it. And good luck. Good luck on everything. Doesn't seem like he needs it. He just, I'm going to do first class. I'm just going to go to London. That's a nice setup.
I'd still drive to Detroit. I wouldn't fly 20 minutes to Detroit and then sit in the airport for 5 hours.
Yeah, I would have thought he would have had a whole concierge service, the town car treatment out to Detroit. Do we have time? No, we don't. All right. When we come back, Mary Kay Cabot of the Plain Dealer and Cleveland.com. Boy, we got into an ethical journalism discussion earlier today. Jason is accusing some of doing too much with Shador for clicks. Somebody who's in the business of needing the clicks is saying that. What does Mary Kay think? And should Joe Flacco be the backup after all? We'll get to that when we come back here on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
It's October, and the frights and fortunes are here.
as the backup, Shedeur Sanders remains the third stringer. Get all the latest Browns content filtered right to your phone during the regular season by following the Browns playlist and 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Stop putting cameras and microphones in the face of the third string quarterback. He was never going to be the backup. Anyone who pays any attention to this team, who knows how they think, who knows how they're operating, he was never going to be the backup. Stop talking to the third string quarterback. And if you're the Browns, stop letting him in the locker room during media availability. There are places all over that building to hide. You tell him, go sit in a hot tub for 45 minutes.
Jason Lloyd earlier in the show, we'll see if Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com and Plain Dealer agrees. Join us on the Fan Hotline. Mary Kay, another caller joining us from across the pond. How are you, Mary?
I'm doing great. How you doing? I'm just about to get on the bus to go to Browns practice.
Any tea and crumpets yet? Any fish and chips?
I definitely have had some chips. 2 servings of chips yesterday.
Love it.
No fish yet. And probably some crumpets at some point soon.
Love it.
All right, and when you go to practice, are you going to shove a microphone or a camera in Shedeur Sanders' face? Mary Kay, I'm watching ESPN. We had on in studio. We peruse all the different networks and the local affiliates in the morning, and they had a 10-minute segment on Shedeur Sanders and what he was doing yesterday in the locker room. It was on Scott Van Pelt last night. I've seen it everywhere, Mary Kay. Is this gone too far officially?
You know what? I think that I really actually think that Shedeur, in his own way, was trying not to steal the show for Dillon Gabriel yesterday. I think by him not saying anything, he was trying not to create the next headline. He knows that he's a content machine. He knows exactly the power of his words, and I think he was trying not to do that. And it didn't work out that way, but I don't think he had any ill intent. I don't think he was trying to say, hey, look at me, this is all about me today.
I just think it's time for the Browns to tell him, hey, listen, media's coming in. Go find somewhere to hang out for 45 minutes, and then you can come in. Players hide on us all the time.
Go to the Johnny Manziel closet.
Yeah, right. I mean, how often is Miles ever in the locker room until Fridays when he talks? You never see Miles in the locker room when media is there, and he's not the only one. You
have to understand something about Shedeur. He grew up in the spotlight. He grew up in the fishbowl. They have live streamed their whole entire lives.
Yeah.
They want everything out there. In fact, you may have seen that Dion commented on this on Instagram, and he gave it 10 laughing emojis. So this is a family that's used to being in the media, in the spotlight. And, of course, from a journalistic sports writer standpoint, I don't want him hiding. And if I were the Browns, they're not supposed to tell their players to go hide somewhere, so I wouldn't do that. I think that we need all the players available all the time. That's what they're supposed to be. So I'm a big advocate of access. So I wouldn't tell him to go hide. And it's up to him what he wants to say. So, and I do think it's relevant. I do think it's a story how Shedeur Sanders feels about this, because there was a chance that perhaps you would make him the backup quarterback. So I think it is a question, and I think it is a fair one. And he could have just said, hey, I'm just putting my head down, working hard, happy for Dillon, and off we all go.
Can we agree this is why 31 teams passed on him at least 5 times, because they don't want this nonsense and mess in their locker room over the third string quarterback?
You know what? That may have been part of it for some teams. I think the other part of it for some teams was the fact that, things that we have even heard Andrew Berry say now, is the fact that he went from a sort of, English class to Mandarin in terms of what he was going to have to learn as far as calling the play in the huddle, sliding the protections, and doing all of those things that you had to do pre-snap. He didn't show up in the NFL as ready to do those things as some other people, including Dillon Gabriel, and I think that had a lot to do with it.
Mary Kay Cabot, Plain Dealer, Cleveland.com on the Fan Hotline. So, Mary Kay, the decision to go with Dillon Gabriel, is this anywhere near the timing that some in the building might have expected? And how confident is this team and the decision makers truly in his ability to go out there and not just perform, but win a football game?
I don't think that I don't think they wanted to do it this early at all. I think that they had hoped that Joe could hold down the fort for half the season or longer and kind of see how everything goes. So they really needed him to just play clean football, and he wasn't able to do that. And not all of it was his fault, of course. We know that. But he just wasn't able to stop turning the ball over, and the offense wasn't functioning well with him. And the receivers weren't flourishing with him in the football game. So sometimes you just have to make a change and see if everything comes together.
So what do you expect out of Dylan Sunday? Lyman thinks he's going to be an absolute disaster, and I think he's going to be competent.
Well, the thing about Dylan is the fact that he's a poised player. He has a lot of confidence. He has started 63 games. I know Brian Flores is going to try to make his job extremely difficult, but he is, he's a very, again, experienced player. Hard to say that when somebody's a rookie. But I think that they will find enough things for him to do well that I think he will operate pretty efficiently. So that's the plan. And the thing that he has to not do is turn the ball over. So we'll see what a Brian Flores defense has in store for him. They're going to try to exploit his height. They're going to try to exploit the tackle situation. I think it's going to be a shorter, zippier, snappier offense that you're going to see. I think you'll see some RPOs and some movement, more bootlegs, rollouts, anything that has to do with some quarterback movement. Get that pocket moving and get things a little bit less predictable than they were.
Obviously, you want to make life easier on a rookie with steady offensive line play. Who is going to be playing right tackle, which is going to be pretty important this week, considering the lefty, and who's going to be playing left tackle?
Well, we're heading over to practice now, so I'll have a better idea on that later today, although we don't get to watch very much practice. But hopefully for Dylan Gabriel that Jack Conklin will be back, because you really would want Jack to be protecting your blind side over there as the right tackle. So hopefully for Dylan that will happen. Don't know, can't say for sure yet, but that would be advantageous for him. And then is Cam Robinson ready to start over there at left tackle? I would go ahead and throw him in there as long as he's up to speed enough, and he should be by Sunday. He's started a game already this season. He's played in several games this season, so he's in football shape. And I think the alternative might possibly be worse, so I would go ahead and do that.
Jack Conklin would be huge upgrade, obviously, if he's able to come back. Do you think, I just thought of this, do you think there's any chance that they know in the back of their mind, hey, Jack's probably going to be good, that's why we can make this move, rather than the tackle situation that they've had the last couple of weeks with a rookie? Or am I reading way too much into it on a Thursday?
You know what? I think that they were hopeful that could happen, but I don't think that was a huge factor. I think the number one factor in all of this was the fact that they just could not protect the football, and that you're never going to win games when you're turning it over 3 times a game. And when you're getting blown out the way that they did in Detroit, that was an embarrassing loss for this organization. They're not going to stand for that. They've got good players on this team. Your championship caliber defense isn't going to stand for that very long. So I think, that could be a nice bonus for them to get Jack Conklin back, but not a reason why they did it.
You're in that locker room way more than just about anybody else. Did you get a feel at all about how the veterans on that team, and I know Joe Flacco being 40 adds to this, but they're the oldest team in the NFL by age this season. At least I've seen somewhere around those numbers, depending on the roster each week. How do the veterans feel about going to a rookie, especially a third-round draft pick this early, or were they done with Joe Flacco because the play just wasn't up to par?
Well, first of all, I was not in the locker room yesterday because I arrived in London yesterday morning. We did not know exactly when we needed to be here back when we made all those reservations.
Well, had Flacco lost them, over the last few weeks?
No, I don't think he had lost them, because we had talked to veterans after the game, like Joel Bitonio, who had said, we still believe in him. I think a lot of players looked out there and saw that this offense is not a well-oiled machine yet. And Dylan Gabriel's going to suffer through some of this, too, and there will be growing pains. This was an offense that went through a 4-way quarterback competition. They don't necessarily have the timing and chemistry down with any one of the quarterbacks that they should. Once again, there are new blocking schemes. It's just different all over again, than it was last year. So I think they looked out there and saw that Joe was trying to hold it together, that he was getting hit a lot, that they had tackle problems. I don't think a lot of people were going, oh, my goodness, what is this guy doing out here? I think they could see what he was trying to do and how it just wasn't working for a lot of different reasons. And once again, a lot of those reasons are still going to be there this Sunday. It's just a matter of how Dylan can navigate them.
Is there any sort of advantage for Minnesota that they've been over there for 10 days, or is it a disadvantage that Minnesota has been over there for 10 days?
You know, you never know in these situations. Sometimes it goes the way that you think it's going to go, and sometimes it goes the exact opposite way. Will the Browns just get over here? You know, they're just getting here today. They're going to have to be tired today. There's no way that they won't be tired today, even if they slept on the plane. So they're just getting rolling today. And as you mentioned, the Vikings have been here. You know, they had a day off. Some of them went golfing. They're enjoying London. And so we'll have to see which one of those teams can bring the juice on Sunday. And you never really know how that's going to work out.
I think Pittsburgh went Friday last week, right, for their game. So
Aaron Rodgers was not happy about that. He wanted to be there much earlier.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I was just curious if you have any insight into their thought process of why they chose to go when they did, as opposed to going earlier or later, why they chose. I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I'm just wondering their thought process behind their timing.
Well, I was actually surprised because, as we know by now, Kevin Stefanski likes to get this football team out of Berea as often as possible. And, we've spent a lot of time at the Greenbrier, and we've spent time in Philadelphia, and we've spent time in Los Angeles. And so I was a little surprised that he didn't take advantage of the opportunity to corral his football team, his struggling football team, get here a few days early and kind of bring them all in and pull them together. But, they have exercise scientists and they do things different ways. And I'm sure that they had a method to their madness, and I don't know exactly what the reason is yet.
Mary Kay, Bubba Ventrone, a special teams coach, was he put on notice last week? Just listening to over the last week, listening to Stefanski, he obviously couldn't have been happy with the special teams play in 3 of the 4 games anyway. But I do wonder if at some point is his job going to be on the line if they continue to have these gaffes, especially with the defense playing as well as they are?
You know what? I don't think so. I don't think that Bubba is going to be, that his job is going to be in jeopardy in the middle of the season. I don't see that happening because it's too hard to switch everything up. And you can point to the problems in every one of the situations for the most part. I mean, Grant Delpit took responsibility for just making a mental error and thinking the ball was out of bounds on the punt return for a touchdown. You coach that up pretty well, I'm sure. And I don't know how you can blame that on Bubba. And you can't really blame a couple of missed field goals on Bubba, and they've gotten that settled down. But certainly they have to shore up those mistakes, and those special teams have to completely pull together. Sometimes it's a function of the back end of your roster. There's a lot of turnover, and maybe your back end guys aren't performing as well as you need them to. So they've got to get it together there. Those 2 other phases of the game can't keep leaving the championship defense hanging out to dry.
Are you on the bus from the hotel with the other Browns beat reporters right now?
I was sitting on there for a little bit of this interview and disturbing them, I'm sure, and then I just jumped off for a minute.
Oh, man. Mary Kay, I was going to have you power rank who was the most hungover or who your favorite beat reporters were, but I'll let you off the hook now since they're not going to be there to hear it.
Well, I'll tell you that one of us just got here this morning, and so he's going to be tired today. And then 3 of us got here yesterday, and we probably got a very good night's sleep last night, I'm guessing.
Oh, what fun is that? Man, you couldn't let me on this. I'd be very persuasive. I would be very bad influence on the rest of the beat. Mary Kay, thank you. Enjoy the trip. We are having fun, and if you need to stick a microphone or a camera in Shedeur of Sanderson, don't listen to Jason Lloyd. Do your job.
All right, you guys. We'll be in touch. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, there she is, Mary Kay Cabot, plain dealer at Cleveland.com. Boy, I have a lot of thoughts on what she just said.
Well, I'm sure that everything I said today is going to infuriate everybody I work with, and I totally get it. And by the way, Mary Kay's right when she's talking about access. The NFL takes advantage all the time of limiting access and trying to make guys not available, whatever. I just think in this instance, we're not talking about the starting quarterback. We're not talking about the backup quarterback. We're talking about the third string quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, when we come back, boy, we're evaluating quarterbacks, but now that you've made this move, is it time to evaluate the coaching staff, especially offensively? What does this mean for Kevin Stefanski? We'll do that next. Plus, we'll get you ready for Guardians baseball today. Game 3, win or go home, quite literally, for Detroit and the Cleveland Guardians. That's all straight ahead here on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. Anthony
in the right shoulder. This is Joe Checkeye for 92.3 The Fan.
The Guardians flagship stations are not built to talk about the playoffs anytime you want. That's why we exist. Cleveland's sports radio. Play ball! 92.3 The Fan.
We have game 3 between the Guardians and the Tigers today at 3:08. So adjust your schedules accordingly. I'm expecting a near capacity crowd day. Come on, let's go. Let's go. You got 2 more hours. We got people handling their plans with their kids, maybe picking them up. Owen, is that what you said? And then heading on back.
Just the whole trying to, especially if you work in Cleveland anywhere, and then trying to get back out to, whether it's Parma or Avon Lake. I know a ton of people out there that were coming and doing half days downtown and then trying to get back out and get back in, and it's a whole deal. So
I've seen fans.
A little more time for that.
I've seen people going after the Guardians fan. Filipponi he came into town. I think he came into town so he could tweet.
Why was he here?
The empty seats. He is a baseball fan, whatever, but I think he literally just came in. He was asking for my parking pass at one point. So you could come in and then bleep talk our fandom. Oh, if this was in Pittsburgh, it'd be sold out. Yeah, because you guys don't go. Because you guys don't go to the playoffs.
Ever.
It's old hat for us. All right, we expect ALDS, ALCS, maybe the World Series here. It's a little bit different in Cleveland. Jason Lloyd is in for Ken Carman.
It was a thin crowd at first pitch yesterday.
It was, yeah.
And I do think traffic may have had something to do with it. There was like a big accident or spill or something on the highway.
Oh, you mean I-90 where they put 6 lanes and where 3 lanes should be, and you've got the dividers literally 1 inch that caused an 11-car pileup a couple of days ago?
Between the dividers and the far right lane, which is at a 60-degree bankment, like you're going around Talladega, and then there's grass, 4 inches away from the white line. Who knows?
If you are one of those that's claustrophobic and you've got the 18-wheelers next to you, I-90 on the west side for the next 2 years, not going to be for you. If you're somebody who likes to text on your phone and drift a little bit into the other lane, I-90 on the west side, it might not be for you.
That's why I've wrapped my car in pool noodles so I can just bounce right off.
That's basically what it is. During rush hour, people are playing bumper cars on I-90.
It is tight.
Oh, and you made a great point about ODOT. Why were we spending so much time on what was going on in Brook Park and its proximity to the airport when you have an unsafe setup on the entire drive home from Cleveland for the next 2 years in both directions?
Well, who do you think was pushing that through going, no, don't worry about the traffic flow right now. We got to worry about how the smokestacks used to be 54 feet higher, and now they're not going to be that.
There is no way anybody legitimately signed off on that and thought this is a good idea for the next 2 years. That I-90 is going
that long?
Oh yeah. I thought I saw 2028. That project is going to be over.
I will have 2 different kids in college and 2 college graduates by the time this thing gets done.
It is not a great setup.
Lyman will have no more kids, but his kids will be in in school by the time.
I won't be alive because somebody is going to go careening into my car after hitting the embankment on the one side. This is not safe for anybody right now on I-90. Anyway, I digress. For anybody in from Detroit who is making their way over to watch today's baseball game. All right, so we had Mary Kay Cabot on for the Plain Dealer Cleveland.com last segment, and we're talking so much about evaluating the quarterback. How's the quarterback going to look? What is it going to look like? What kind of an offense are they going to run? Okay, but what about the offense in general and how they are going to coach Dylan Gabriel up? It's one thing to say, Jason, that you have the utmost confidence in somebody regardless of what round they picked. I mean, Cam Ward was the first overall pick, and he has looked lost. He's had no chance. His offensive line's been terrible. Yeah. He's like 10 of 27 last game. That is abysmal. So people say it can't get worse than Joe Flacco. I'll give you Exhibit A in Cam Ward. It can get worse. I'll give you DTR a few years ago. It can get worse. So what do they do to make sure it doesn't get worse and that they actually have an offense that'll work for this youngster?
I think they go back to the offense that they wanted to run all along, and that includes play action, bootlegs, rollouts, get the quarterback on the move, make things easy for him, couple short pitch and catch options, and get them in the flow of the offense, establish the run game. Everything that they've been trying to do is still on the table for them to do. And, we were talking about in between segments. Last year, everyone was screaming early on about how terrible the offensive line looked and how, oh my goodness, these guys are old, they're terrible, they're awful. Well, a lot of it had to do with Deshaun. He was holding the ball too long and he wasn't where he was supposed to be. And I wrote about it after the season. They would set protections for him to be at a certain depth in a certain space, and he wasn't there. And it messed up a lot of things. All that went away when Jameis went in, and suddenly the line didn't look nearly as bad. Now, I'm not saying Flacco is setting up where he's not supposed to be, but I do think just the immobility of him back there has really cut off a lot of what they can do. So just having a mobile, athletic quarterback who can move around the pocket, who can protect himself, who can, if there's nobody open, he can at least scramble enough to give you 2 or 3 yards or throw the ball away. I think it's going to make a big difference.
Well, I said at one point, based on how bad the tackles were getting beat, that it seemed like Detroit had not 1 Myles Garrett, but 2 in that game. That's how quickly they were disposing of the backup linemen that they were navigating against and getting to Joe Flacco, who, I'll give him credit, he hung in the pocket and took some hits.
Yeah.
And he absorbed hits, and still, was he a little late on throws? Was he a little off? Yeah, but he was still putting the ball on guys' hands, right? So I understand Joe's been part of the problem, right? He's had some inconceivable mistakes, but I guess if you follow Joe Flacco's career, not that inconceivable. He's going to, when he sees press coverage, he is going to take his shots. Obviously, on the first one, I mean, you can't condone it. There was some miscommunication. The second one I put on Judy.
Yes, I do too.
Look, he's going to take the few shots they get in this offense. He's going to take them. And you got to have a reliable receiver. You've got to, at some point, you got him as your number 1 wide receiver. You traded for him. You paid him. You're going to take some shots.
Yeah, drops are inevitable. You're going to have drops. Every receiver is going to have drops. But when the big play opportunities are as few and far between as they are on the Browns, mistakes are even more glaring and drops hurt even more. So, if the offense is rolling and things are looking better and Judy drops one, it's not that big of a deal. When you're in the position the Browns are in and Judy drops one, it feels devastating.
Yeah. We heard this yesterday. Ross Tucker was on the afternoon show, and I thought it was an interesting breakdown. Now, this will skew to the negative, but he's giving you a reality of what it's like in this league against experienced defensive coordinators when you are a rookie.
I also think he's going to see some things that he hasn't before from Flores. And, I wouldn't be surprised if all of he has a pick six. I don't know if you can prop bet that or whatever, but he's going to be trying to get the ball out quickly, and the Vikings know that. So they're going to try to jump these quick passes underneath, and I would not be surprised if Isaiah Rodgers or somebody takes one back to the house.
All right, so that's Ross Tucker on the afternoon show. And by the way, he did compare, I want to be fair, Ross Tucker compared him at times during that interview to Kirk Cousins. I think he said Tua as well. I don't know how people will feel about that necessarily, but he's just talking about
Tua's an upgrade over the quarterback play the Browns have gotten.
Yeah, that is true. And so he's talking about a profile in general.
Yeah.
So he knows why Stefanski seems to like this kid. I heard Stefanski yesterday. I didn't necessarily hear the same vote of confidence maybe you did by listening to Stefanski for making the move. Maybe he's just being Stefanski at this point.
He's just Kevining it.
Yeah, that could be.
He downplays everything. Kevin, I think, likes Dylan quite a bit. I think Kevin's a big reason why Dylan Gabriel's here, and I think he's got a lot of trust in him.
Yeah.
He's not going to gas the kid up before his first ever NFL start. Because, listen, Sunday could be a disaster. And that doesn't mean they're going to go away from him after one game. But, under all the circumstances, this is a tough task to put him, the Vikings and the Steelers back-to-back weeks. That's a tall task for a rookie, and it may be rough and ugly earlier. I've said I think he's going to be competent, and I do think he will be competent. But if it's rough and ugly, I'm not going to be terribly surprised, but I do think it'll get better as the longer he's in there.
Well, his mobility is going to present definitely a curveball to anybody who's been watching film on the Browns this year.
Yeah.
They're going to say, yeah, I guess we can't just come at it from these angles every time because, he could take off and run. I do wonder how he will utilize his wheels in this game. We know the bootlegs. You remember the early Baker days with Stefanski when the bootlegs were working?
He was excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent on rollouts to the right.
Yeah, I don't know what happened over time. Maybe it's just enough film on anybody and their tendencies. It gets tougher because it got really hard for Baker towards the end on those rollouts. And I know they've called some of those with Flacco. If Flacco does get back out there, you're probably going to need to scrap those, especially when you have him going to the wrong side and throwing across his body with guys in his face. That's probably not the right way to attack it, but I am curious to see what that offense looks like so that we don't get what Ross Tucker said, which is a pick six, because what you can't have, especially for all the veterans on his team, you can't have this thing spiral early.
Yeah, you have to move the pocket because of the size limitations of Dylan. So he has to be on the move. And we talked about earlier, he's probably going to have a pass or two knocked down. That's just the reality of what you're dealing with. What you can't have is a tip ball that becomes an interception going the other way. That's the bigger fear to me than a bad. If you get a ball knocked down the line of scrimmage, so be it. It's an incomplete pass, move on. If you have one tipped, it's now a 50-50 ball, and they're going the other way with it, that's a much larger concern.
All right, Jason Lloyd in for Ken Carman here on 92.3 The Fan from The Athletic. When we come back, 3 hours down, 1 to go. We're getting you closer to Guardians baseball today. Season is on the line. Do you think the Bats waking up late in yesterday's game, do you think that could be enough to not only beat the Tigers today, but make even a deeper run into the postseason? We'll get to all of that when we come back here on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. Anthony Lima for Mentality. We were talking about mentality health because I know many of you, I've talked to many.
this decision was best for the football team. This is not about one person. Joe is a captain of this football team. We're going to need his leadership moving forward like always. We need to all be better. We need to coach better. We need to block better, catch better, run better, all of the above. We need to be better. And I know the quarterback position gets quite a bit of scrutiny. I understand that.
This is the radio home of the Cleveland Browns.
This is about our entire team playing better.
92.3 The Fan.
Nate Bargatze, what a week if you've had a chance to win those tickets. Today will be your second to last opportunity. Enter the code word COMIC at 923thefan.com before 10 a.m. Your chance to win a pair of tickets to Nate Bargatze Big Dumb Eyes Tour this Friday, October 3rd at 7 p.m. at Rocket Arena.
We got tickets, except I thought it was Saturday. It's Friday? Interesting.
Does he have two shows?
No. I think I probably need to check those tickets. Glad I worked today.
That might be like me in the opening segment. I think I said the Guardians game was in Detroit. Tickets available at rocketarena.com. It's all from Outback Presents and Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. Listen, these newfangled wildcard setups. I mean, I'm still learning. We check in with him from yesterday.
Let's see if he made it through.
I was not going. I followed him. He was very nice. He followed
Chris
us
Castellani,
back.
Yeah,
he's the crazy. He's the crazy man that posts after every Tigers game.
I seek out his videos now. He's hilarious.
Well, but when they won game one, I'm like, now I realize I'm following a Tigers fan. Like, that's not what I want to be doing when they beat us and Scooble looks like Pedro Martinez in the opening game. So good news is today, Scooble is not the starting pitcher in a life or death situation, which is what this is. It's a game that I asked earlier in the show if this could define the season. You didn't think so, because I was asking if you have to validate what they did the last month of the year, making history, coming back, being the biggest story in baseball down the stretch. I mean, ESPN had the Guardians up top, and it almost like made its way up from like buried 10th on the front page to 8th to 6th, then 1-1-1-1. Like, they were the story in baseball to end the year. And then I asked the question, though, do they need to win today? Obviously, they need to win to continue on and give us more magical moments in October.
Back-to-back must-win games?
Back-to-back must-winners and real must-wins. Was that a shot, the fact that Ken Carman called a bunch of games must-win all year, and then they'd lose them, and then they still made the playoffs?
Critical mass for 10 years, I feel like.
On baseball?
Ken was doing it. Carried away with the must-wins in sports.
Yeah.
What do you want?
I mean, James Jones used to tell me all the time, listen, it ain't must-win until it's elimination game.
Yeah.
And then it's must-win.
And you know what? It was a must-win yesterday. And it looked like the opener of the series. You went until the 8th inning until you could actually get some hits, get guys around, get some traffic. Quan, finally, I'm hoping. Can you imagine if that broke the seal on what Quan could do in this postseason, and if it all started yesterday when he came up to the plate and he got that double and then kind of got things going? That would be awesome. We've always said, like, Jose and Quan, this team's not making a deep run without those guys. Well, Jose hasn't had a chance. I mean, they're not giving him any pitches, and he's doing what he should be doing, which is, go up there with a good strategy, make these pitchers, truly work. But the problem is when he walks, it's only one base, and you're not driving anybody home. Well, so you need Quan. We need Manzardo. Like, let's go. Let's go.
It's really Manzardo even more than... I mean, yes, you need Quan to set the table, of course. But Jose's never going to get a pitch unless he's got protection behind him. And we've talked about it all show, what Valera and DeLauder could mean to this lineup. But that's down the road. Right now, it's what Manzardo means to this lineup. And Kyle has to come through. If they're going to keep pitching around Jose and not give him anything to hit, it's on Kyle to deliver and make him pay for it.
Yeah, and you know what? It gives you real hope. Not just today. It gives you real hope that, hey, maybe we can go and get a prolonged run out of this. And it's the one thing we make fun of on this show. What's baseball? But in the postseason, even ask Vogt, even ask Hinch. Like, it's baseball.
Yeah.
Meaning, throw out anything we know about these teams. And the funny thing is, I mean, Detroit, they don't know anything about this Guardians team because this wasn't the roster. These guys were all in Columbus earlier in the year.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. And it's setting up. And the reason, I guess, why I don't think they need to win today to validate, obviously you want them to win. Obviously you want them to advance. I don't think they need to win to validate anything today because of how they are set up. They are set up for another or a continued long run of contention here with where they're positioned. I mean, the Tigers have 1 year left to Skubal. The Tigers are melting down right now, and they've got 1 year left to Tarek Skubal, and I'm not sure where they turn to after that. The Twins are a mess. The White Sox are a mess. The Royals are going to be okay. They're going to keep spending money, but the division's going to be there year after year in the foreseeable future for the Guardians to win. So I don't think that everything is a disaster if they lose this game today. I don't think that it's all for naught. I think that they've set themselves up well, and September has showed you what this franchise is capable of doing over the next couple of years. Now they got to navigate Quan this winter. And again, I don't want to have an off-season show before the season's even over, but they do have a decision to make with Quan. He came close to, I mean, they were within a heartbeat of trading him at the trade deadline, and that's all going to come back in a few months. But I like where the organization is positioned. I like the options that they have in this lineup. Finally, if these guys can stay on the field and stay healthy, the pitching is always the pitching. And I just feel really good about where they're positioned going forward.
Yeah, I asked, about whether it validates what they need that. I mean, look, we're always going to know, and people are going to bring up 15 and a half games. I think that one, I don't know if it rolls off the tongue the way the big win streak did too, but some people tell me they've forgotten about that because the team didn't really do anything that year. They didn't make a World Series run that year. So sometimes you try to separate the regular season and the playoffs.
You know what's funny about that is if you look at like the longest win streaks in baseball, those teams never win the World Series. Like
that's weird. Like
the A's, remember that the whole Moneyball and that they didn't win. If you look at like the top, I just remember when the Guardians were winning. And I was looking historically at like all these long winning streaks. None of those teams have won the World Series.
Well, I do wonder, though, will it define the season? And I know we do recency bias. That's the one thing all fans do.
Yeah.
And the minute the season ends, especially if they don't score runs today, what's it going to be? Why don't we have a $20 million bat? Why didn't you spend that money? And, that's a question I feel like we ask every year in Cleveland. So it's almost, to me, not interesting. Like, people will call me Anthony Dolan for that. Ken will call me that. I'm just not interested because, I've been talking about that for 15 years.
It's just the reality. You're living in the reality of where they are,
which sucks.
Yeah.
And I get it. If you pay for season tickets and you are tried and true, you are a lover of Cleveland baseball, and you just can't believe that they slashed payroll after an ALCS last year. I get all that. I gotta say, I've done my best to be immune to it.
Well, the only way to really enjoy them is to accept who they are, right?
Yeah. Live in the reality of where they're at.
If you can't accept that this is the way they're going to operate and admit that they've been really damn good operating this way.
Right.
The best in baseball, right? Who's better than them? Tampa can make their case, but Tampa's just piggybacking off of what we did here first. If you can't accept it and admit it, then you're not going to enjoy it whenever the fruits pay out like they are right now.
Yeah, I do think that on a day like today, like I'm not thinking about payroll. I'm thinking about this team hanging around and, pissing off my wife that I can't be with the kids.
And I love that.
Over the next week.
Ken's going to love that.
Yes.
Piss off your wife. That's one of his pastimes.
And then, I'm going to have to go to some games. In the middle of the week.
I miss
work.
Lima's back.
I'm missing a freshman football game today. I'm not real happy about that.
Which I can't believe.
So be it.
I mean, as good of a father as you are, and the amount of money you've invested into
Dude, you have
youth
no idea.
sports.
You have no idea.
Do you have the total
disgusting.
now? Are we up over 100K? I feel like it is with Jason.
No, it's not that high. But
you sure about that?
Jason started a little later with all of that, but they've been a year-rounder.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Now we're into the football training along with the baseball training. We have volleyball starting. Yeah, it's swimming year-round.
Just wait till you start paying consultants for recruiting things.
That's next.
That's coming. I had a shot at making the game when it was a 1:00 game. I have no shot now.
Okay, so today. I want to get this in quick before we turn. So it's Flaherty and Ciccone. We are favored in this game. How many innings do you need out of him and Cantillo to feel really good, knowing the Cade Smith ambiguity is out there, that we don't know if he truly can pitch today?
Minimum 7. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they can do the whole thing between the two of them. Go the whole game.
Well,
just
that'd be
the
nice.
two of them.
Wouldn't that be nice?
But I think you have to get. Realistically, you have to get 7 out of them combined to set yourself up.
And then what would be is it all situational after that? It's lefty, righty,
yeah.
it's whatever, because that was the only bummer. Yesterday, I erupted when they were able to finally produce runs. And at no point was I sitting there going, why is Cade Smith in? No, you have to do it. You have to do it to save your season. But when the game ended, I'm like, man, I wish we had a crystal ball to know we were going to get that kind of run support.
Sure.
Because that would have changed everything. And their guys are good. If it's just a bullpen game like the Tigers, now you'd probably put the chips on their side if it just came down to that, because we don't have Class A, which is such a big blow. We don't need to spend a ton of time talking about it. We don't know anything. But what a big blow that is. Because what a card that we could have played would have changed everything.
No, because he wouldn't have been here.
What do you mean? Oh, would have traded him?
Yes. He was gone. They would have traded him at the trade deadline, had the gambling thing. So Class A is not even a consideration to this series because he wouldn't have been here anyway.
Fair point. But I do wonder how optimistic, we'll be towards the 7th, 8th inning, not knowing the situation with Cade Smith. All right. Your Cleveland Browns made a quarterback change, but yet all the national talk, guys, I put on another network in the studio. They're talking about Shedeur Sanders. Jason Lloyd earlier in the show said, enough is enough.
Stop putting cameras and microphones in the face of the third string quarterback. He was never going to be the backup. Anyone who pays any attention to this team, who knows how they think, who knows how they're operating, he was never going to be the backup. Stop talking to the third string quarterback. And if you're the Browns, stop letting him in the locker room during media availability. There are places all over that building to hide. You tell him, go sit in a hot tub for 45 minutes.
All right, that was in response to the video of Shedeur Sanders, who this time was having some fun, I thought, at the media's expense, because he opened up his mouth and no words came out, and that was a very bizarre 3 minutes that I'd say we'd never have back, but here we are having it back right now. Going back to the well, the person who had the video that blew up, I know there were other reporters there as well. How many million do you think Spencer German's video count is up to right now on the Shedeur Sanders clip?
13.
It's 13.7 million. So it went up. We started the show.
That's 1.4 million. That's a point more than
our parade.
Yes.
Yes, than our parade, a famous number. 1.3. Well, you just heard Jason Lloyd, and he took all those reporters to task. Sounds like Spencer German wants to speak up for himself here. Maybe Jason Lloyd wants to be a bigger man and apologize. We'll find out next here on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
It's almost...
Just listen on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Anything to say?
I guess it's tough to have fun. So it's one more. What do you think? I guess the show to the coaches, just to have that belief in you that you can be ready.
What game do you say?
All right, you couldn't hear it from the audio. We're a radio show, not a TV show, although we are on YouTube. So technically, we're going to have to get to the point where we have to be playing these videos.
We can recreate it.
Yes. We're recreating what Shedeur Sanders was doing yesterday. In the locker room, major credit to intrepid, young reporter for 92.3 The Fan, and he's all over the place because, ladies and gentlemen, Spencer German, he is Spencito on social media. Always does a terrific job. You can hear him on the weekend. He's on Locked On Browns, Cleveland Browns, Sports Illustrated. He covers it all. And Spence, I think you drew the ire of my co-host today.
Don't do that.
Jason Lloyd of The Athletic.
Spencer, you did not draw the ire.
No, don't walk
me.
it back.
I'm not.
Even start walking it back.
I'm not.
Play the audio. No, we got to do it. Because I'm not going to let you get away with this. We all heard it.
Okay, good. Yeah, play the audio.
And by the way, Awful Announcing wants to do something on this now. Go ahead. Here is Jason Lloyd, my co-host today, and for Ken Carman earlier in the show.
Stop putting cameras and microphones in the face of the third-string quarterback. He was never going to be the backup. Anyone who pays any attention to this team, who knows how they think, who knows how they're operating, he was never going to be the backup. Stop talking to the third-string quarterback. And if you're the Browns, stop letting him in the locker room during media availability. There are places all over that building to hide. You tell him, go sit in the hot tub for 45 minutes.
Spence, I will tell you, your boss backed you up today because he called in to say, yeah, Spence is doing exactly what I wanted him to do. What is your video up to now? Almost 14 million. You did the right thing. Don't let these old curmudgeons tell you otherwise. Your video is all over ESPN. It's on Fox all morning long.
Well, listen, I think Jason, I think there's a fair point in what Jason's saying in that, like, yes, I understand why people are frustrated and annoyed that a third string quarterback is getting cameras shoved in his face and getting asked questions. But I think the thing that Keith said that I think probably sort of sums this up the most is just like the idea that the Browns kind of did this themselves, right? Like they don't have a franchise quarterback, and they drafted two of them in this past year's draft. And so as long as those two guys exist together on this roster and they're going to be compared to each other, and we're going to wonder like how far along is one versus the other. And, I think Shedeur also isn't your typical fifth round pick or your typical third string quarterback. I think that can be that's very accurate given, just how polarizing of a figure that he is. I think all those things kind of add up to why, yesterday I felt like it did make sense to try to talk to Shedeur on some level because, listen, like the other rookie that was drafted with you is getting the starting job. How do you feel about it? But listen, I get it. Like I think fans of this team are sort of annoyed that he keeps making headlines for maybe the wrong reasons. And I'm sure there's other teams looking around like, well, this wouldn't happen on our team because nobody cares about the third string quarterback. So I get where Jason's coming from. I felt in the moment yesterday it was a story that people probably wanted to hear or see is how Shedeur feels about it. And apparently he didn't really want to tell us.
There's plenty of, I don't know if blame is the right word. There's plenty to go around that made the situation what it is. And I just think the media has the most culpable role being, listen, I know I'm in the media. I've been doing this 25 years. I think the media is most culpable, but everybody has a role in this. And if Shedeur comes out and says, I'm doing everything I can to prepare myself, I'm confident, and if I'm called upon, I'll be ready to play, and that's all he says, then a lot of this goes away. But he's not wired that way. That's not who he is. And so he'd rather come out. And I thought, to be fair, I thought Rex was over the line and unfair in some of the things that he said. I think I know where Rex was going with that and what Rex Ryan was trying to say. I thought it was overly harsh and unnecessary, which led to then yesterday. But no starting quarterback in the NFL acts the way like Shedeur did yesterday with the miming and with the not really, like, either talk or don't talk. I know he's going to get criticized no matter what he does. Part of that is this: when you become a social media figure and you become to the level that he is, that's what comes with it. Some people are going to like you and some people aren't. Some people are going to defend you and some people aren't. I just think everybody has a role to play. And in the Browns' role, this is why 31 teams passed on him 5 times, because everybody saw this coming. We said it at the draft. There's going to come a point where everyone's going to Shedeur and saying, you're not playing. How do you feel about not playing? Well, here it's September, and it's happened already. Yeah. So this is why 31 other teams said, nope, not interested in that, not dealing with that with a backup quarterback.
Well, and Jason, I agree with you on Rex. By the way, I covered Rex for a couple of years in Buffalo, and he like, as much as Shedeur plays the game, like, Rex knows what he's doing. Like, I was back then they used to do like the conference calls with the opposing coach, and it was the year that Tom Brady was suspended for the first 4 games of the season, and Rex Ryan came out and pretended to be a beat reporter and try to ask Julian Edelman if he was starting a quarterback that week because Tom Brady was going to be out. Like, Rex Ryan knows how to play the game too, so yeah. I do think he sort of delivered his comments in a way that were a little more inflammatory than they needed to be. But to your other point though, Jason, like, with the other teams passing on him and understanding like this is kind of what comes with the territory, I also think too, like, I know for a fact that, you know, that the Browns don't want to tell Shedeur, like, hey, don't talk, right? Because they think, and from their perspective, and I get it, that looks like you're sort of silencing him and not letting him speak, and, you know, that's not a good look either. So that certainly wasn't the case yesterday. This was all just Shedeur acting alone, which I think is the bigger thing here, right? Like, I honestly think, you know, you bring up maybe tell him to go hang out in the hot tub. Do we even know for sure that Shedeur would, like, just take that advice?
Probably
like,
not.
I don't know. I think he kind of operates on his own platform because he knows he's polarizing. He knows who he is. He knows that he's this larger-than-life figure. So I kind of think, like, yeah, people can give him all sorts of advice and tell him not to do things. But I think in a lot of ways, like, he kind of acts on his own because he feels like he knows how to handle those things. And so I guess that's up to him. And I think that's kind of what played out yesterday as well. But yeah, it's such an interesting situation for sure.
At some point, it becomes a matter of, is the juice worth the squeeze? And if he's a 5th round pick and you don't think he's ready and you don't think he's close, then why are you keeping him around?
Yeah, that's very fair. I think I saw a lot of that in my comments the last few hours, 24 hours, whatever it's been, with people just being like, you know, same thing you said, this is why he was drafted in the 5th round, you know, this is, maybe they should cut him now or whatever, he's just a distraction. So I think there's certainly a lot of fans that feel that way. I would imagine it's probably going to be a while till we talk to Shedeur again, want to hear from Shedeur again, because I'm assuming they want to ride with Dylan for a while, but maybe not. I don't know.
All it takes is one. And post game, it's hard because they're all in there post game. Yeah. You know, then he is available after games in the locker room, both home and away. But during the week, there's plenty of places for guys to.
So Spence, you're saying it's going to be a while, but next open locker room session that you're in, are you going back up? Are you going to listen to this old man trying to dictate how you do your job?
Here we go.
New blood.
No, listen. I thought yesterday there was a purpose to talking to Shedeur. Like I said, he was the other quarterback drafted in this class. We know he's a polarizing figure. He believes he's good enough to play now. So getting his perspective on the change and him remaining the 3rd quarterback, I thought was valuable. I guess if there's maybe if Dylan Gabriel gets hurt on Sunday and then now he does get promoted to quarterback, the 2nd quarterback, that would maybe perpetuate. So I guess I'm wrong. Maybe there is a world where we talk to him again really soon. But I don't have any plans to go up to him in the near future to ask him questions along those lines. You know, maybe if I have like a private conversation with him, that's one thing. But yeah, I took no offense to what you said, Jason. I get it, and I understand that perspective as well. I felt yesterday I was trying to do what my job entails, if that makes sense.
When there's 30 people around, I get why it becomes what's the word? Everyone's going to do it then. Once there's 3 or 4,
it's
then because now you don't want to be the one where your boss is yelling at you saying, "Why don't you have this?" when everybody else has it. I totally get it. I don't fault you at all. Lima's totally being Lima right now. I don't put all of this on you at all. He's the one that dragged your name into this to begin with. But yeah, listen, I've done this a really long time. I totally get how the game is played. I'm just over it. I'm just tired of it.
I want to ask Spence, how did it end? Once that left and you guys were all looking at each other going, I can't believe this just transpired because you have a good eye for this. You know this is going to play. Was Shedeur kind of laughing as he walked away? Did PR step in? Like, what happened?
No, there was no stepping in. It was kind of just like, all right, well, we're not getting anything out of this, so we'll let it be. And then, as we kind of sort of walking away, I sort of asked Shedeur just off the record, like, hey, have you ever been to London? And he was like talking about how he had been, whatever. So, it was nothing. He was definitely laughing about it. He just kind of had fun with it. But I think that's kind of the bit with him, right? Like, we saw his brother's media company that he runs posted the clips and, sort of spliced it together with the Rex Ryan comments, which gave us the indication that it was in response to Rex Ryan. So I think he planned this on his own. I think he knew what he was doing. It was to make a statement because people are saying he runs his mouth too much. And so he was basically trying to tell everybody, I'm not going to run my mouth. But I think he definitely, he walked away from it laughing and understanding that it was kind of all in good fun from his perspective. But clearly on social media, which, surprise, surprise, people are going to overreact on social media. A lot of people didn't take it that way. So it is what it is, I guess.
At Spencito _ I think is what it is on social media. Great job yesterday. Do everything you can to do more of these moments because it gives us a lot of runway. We're enjoying it. Thank you, Spence.
No problem, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
See you, buddy.
All right. So you're doing a good job when you get Adam Schefter to respond to what went down with your video clip yesterday. Here is Schefter this morning on ESPN.
Well, essentially, the Browns made a quarterback change yesterday. They went with Dylan Gabriel as their starter, Joe Flacco, second string, and Shedeur Sanders remains third string. So when they asked Shedeur to speak about his reaction to the Browns' quarterback's moves, he spoke in mime. What he was doing was responding to Rex Ryan, who on this show on Monday essentially criticized Shedeur Sanders for a number of things, but basically said, keep your mouth shut. That was Rex Ryan's message on Monday to Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders decided to take the time yesterday, on the day the Browns made a quarterback change, to literally keep his mouth shut and to mime. Now, there's a time and a place for this. That probably wasn't the time, not on the day where the Browns make a quarterback change. So his answer comes off in that way, with him trying to send a message to Rex Ryan, and it goes viral and obviously creates a firestorm, and people have their own reactions to how he handled this particular situation.
All right, so we've talked about all of that part of it. What do you think Dylan Gabriel's thinking today?
The same thing he's been thinking. He's had to deal with this since July, since June, since rookie minicamp.
Like he's in London right now.
Yeah.
So I know he's not fixated on what's going on ESPN. His family and friends are. Like they just are. It's unavoidable. You got a football game. Though I don't know among his family who's traveling to London, but the ones that are back and back in Hawaii or wherever stateside, they are watching all of this. I can't fathom what they are thinking, seeing every network talk about Shedeur Sanders today.
In a way, it's kind of a good thing for Dylan because
maybe less pressure.
The focus is not on him, and he's the starting quarterback. That's kind of insane to say, but I ran into Mason Graham's parents a couple weeks ago and was talking to his dad, and I said he's the 5th pick in the draft, and nobody talked about him all summer long. And his dad's like, he loves it that way. He's totally fine with that. He doesn't mind that. He doesn't want to be in the spotlight and everyone asking him all these questions all the time. So there's some of that with Dylan now, is that Shedeur is almost actually like a meat shield for Dylan and some of the questions and pressure that normally come with the backup quarterback. But I also think that the Browns made very clear that Dylan Gabriel is the one that they like, the one that they wanted. They took him in the 3rd round, overdrafted him according to some, whatever. They took their guy. But then they cut the legs off their guy when they took Shedeur 2 rounds later. So I see sort of both sides of it where, the whole entertainers and competitors nonsense that got totally blown out of proportion over the summer when Dylan makes a flippant comment and something that he's referred to multiple times before, and it gets twisted and turned on him as he's taking a shot at his teammate. Everybody wants to see the dig. I saw something about, did Joe Flacco take a dig at Shedeur? Did Dylan Gabriel take it? No, guys, they're not taking digs at each other. They're just talking, and everything gets so twisted now. But in a sense, I kind of think that it could be a good thing for Dylan that all of the focus is not on him.
After listening to you, I think that's a great point. I really do, because when a first-round draft pick gets that first start, it's a big deal. And look, every quarterback change is a big deal. I mean, the Browns are pretty gotta say, outside of the Shedeur stuff, pretty irrelevant. They've got this great rookie class. Does anybody know about it? Unless you've watched a Browns game. Like, they're not really going to talk about Harold Fannin or Judkins or Carson Schwessinger. Like, they're not, there's just, in the NFL, there's just so many other storylines. Like, they're going to talk about the Ravens being 1-3, and is this must-win situation with their quarterback out? Like, they're not really going to talk much in the way of Browns because there were low expectations to begin with. But when you make a quarterback change, when they made the change to Baker Mayfield out of necessity because there was an injury, that was a big deal. It's a huge deal. It's number 1 overall pick. We're always wondering when the first-round picks are actually going to get an opportunity to start.
Yep.
It's a 5th-round pick. I mean, a 3rd-round pick, I should say. It's not really getting that much conversation. So you might be right when it comes to the pressure. All right, 216-474-0092. We will continue that. And when we come back, the Guardians, we've got a city united about getting to the ALDS. Everybody's on board except my wife. I'll explain when we come back on 92.3 The Fan. Anthony Lima 4. Diamonds Direct at the corner of Richmond and Cedar Road. Everyday essentials to extraordinary statement pieces. They've got them in one location with inventory 3 to 5 to 7 times that of the other retailers. But do they have no interest until 2030 all month long? Do they have an
Eloquist.com or call 1-855-ELOQUIS.
Headline sports news every 20 minutes from the University Hospital's sports desk. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Hit in the air and right. Back by the wall. Perez. That one's gone. What has gotten into these Cleveland Guardians?
Look, to me, this game today, I don't think there's any rah-rah that's required. It hit me hard yesterday. I did everything I could. I went for a walk. I came home. I watched more baseball. I watched an episode of Batman the Animated Series. I tried to sleep. I could not get my mind off of yesterday. I have no idea what to expect from this game. You brace yourself for more heartbreak because yesterday was a gut punch. You gotta find a way. You gotta find a way.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's in store. More of the animated Batman series. And longer walks. I know they finished that new bridge to Windsor. It looks beautiful.
Why don't you take a long walk off a short pier, Chris?
He was good. He came on with us earlier in the week, last week, because Ken called out his fandom. Because Ken, we live in our Cleveland bubble, and he had no idea that this guy's been doing videos for like 9 years.
Yeah.
And Ken's like, I don't believe this guy. He's not a real fan.
He said Scooble was his favorite Tiger of all time. I'm like, how could you be a lifelong fan and the guy that's been around for 2 years is your favorite Tiger? But he went into the background of that, and they've actually had a relationship for a while. So
Scooble's been there a long time.
It made sense.
Well, they're friends.
Still.
Like Scooble's been on his podcast.
Scooble's a good dude, man. He's a good dude. Not that I know him that well.
Good for him. I don't care. He struck us out 14 times the other day. I don't care. He can be a good dude on Friday. I don't care today.
I didn't see this get picked up anywhere, but ESPN had the camera on him coming out of the bullpen to start the game. And, you can see a player behind him, like, toss a ball into the stands. Like, it's a cool thing to do, even if it's the bad guys. For the fans that are there.
Because they're warming up the center fielder and stuff, too.
Yeah. But before the game, you could hear somebody say something mean. You could tell when something's mean. And Scooble gave it right back to him, and I'm like, oh, no more Mr. Nice Guy. I told you, we can't be thinking about the nice ride over to David Fry. Like, we have to be jerks to him because he's going to be jerks to you. And as he was cruising, like Pedro Martinez a couple of days ago, the fans were giving it back, and it's like, I hope to never see this dude again. Because us beating that guy twice, the way we beat him, was probably, let's be honest, Vogt can call it guards ball. It was the luckiest scenario of all scenarios. I mean, not hitting balls out of the infield is not a recipe. Forget the playoffs. That's not a recipe to win ever.
You can't chalk it up to luck, though, too. Their pitching was phenomenal against him as well.
That's true. Yeah. That's a good point.
Their pitching kept them in that game until they could get him knocked out of the game.
Scooble will be pitching for the Yankees in 2027.
That's good for him.
Or the Dodgers.
So tell Chris, make sure to rub that in as if he doesn't already know.
Mitch can tell him where to get his Yankees gear.
Yeah, about what's going to happen there. So, big game today. Jason Lloyd, you're on record saying our pitchers today, a combo pack of starters that are going to go today, Ciccone and Cantillo. You're thinking, man, if they can get to the 8th inning.
You got to get 7 out of them. I don't think it's unrealistic to expect them to get all 8 or 9. But you have to get 7.
Well, the beauty of a game like this is when do lineups tend to finally break through against starters? It's the third time around.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't give them that opportunity. You we'll see. Like, you're hoping that they're cruising. Most likely, I don't know. The Cade Smith thing has worried me all day, but I'm trying not to think about that. I'm trying to think more about Quan maybe breaking through like he did at the end of yesterday's game. And you got to think, right? Manzardo's due. Jose, they're just not going to pitch to him. So maybe we get lucky and they get into a tough spot where at the end of the order, because you've got some life now at the end of the order, maybe we can get to the point where Jose's got some guys on in front of him and they got to pitch to him. But Manzardo, if he can do anything, and I do think it can be contagious. If yesterday, especially with the win situation, if Valera can do what he did, if Rocchio can do what he did, maybe that can be infectious. Maybe now other guys like Manzardo, because Manzardo hit another tough ball. Like he did have one deep ball. Like, it's there. We know they're capable of it, and you're not going up against Scooble.
Right. It's just interesting to me. We haven't really talked about this all morning, but the shift obviously last year you were getting 2 1/3, 2 2/3 out of your starter, 3 1/3, and Vogt was trying to get to the bullpen as fast as he could last year. Obviously, it's a much different situation this year. You don't have Clase back there. Heron hasn't been as dominant as he was, although he was great yesterday.
Oh, huge getting out of that jam.
So it's now it's sort of flipped back to the way that it's always sort of been, where you really need to rely on your starters. I think, if you can get Ciccone, if he can give you 4, if you can get Cantillo up for Carpenter's third at bat, I guess. I'm
hoping Hinch will take him out by then. Who knows?
But if you get that run of Carpenter, Torkelson, and Riley Green, Cantillo comes in for that stretch, so Carpenter doesn't get a third look at at Ciccone. Ideally that's what you're doing. Maybe even it's one look and Carpenter's out, depending on where they are on the order. I just think you got to if you can get 7 out of the 2 of them, I think you're very happy with that, and you only have to get through 2 innings with the rest of your bullpen.
And then we heard Sean McDonough. What has gotten in? He was waiting for it. I think. Let's be honest. I wonder if McDonough was a little bored. Hey, it's great to see good pitching, but it's the playoffs too. And you're not seeing much in the way of traffic, at least on our end. And they finally broke through, and you saw some semblance of how they were able to, over the last month of the year, with every game seemingly like a playoff game for them. You wanted to see some signs of life, and through 7 innings, it was looking very bleak. Meanwhile, I had to break the news to my wife that there is a third game. That is the format.
How'd she take it?
She was happy that it was 2 hours later. She's going to take the kids to the library. But if they win again, now we go to the ALDS, and it's a series. It's a best of 5, right? And if they win that, then it's the ALCS, and it's a best of 7. So I said we're all united. Everybody is on board here, except maybe my wife.
But bedtime's come into factors now, too.
Yes, it does.
As we start to get deeper into the playoffs, the first pitch times become later in the evening, and maybe, you can convince baby Izzy and little baby Enzo to get to bed a little earlier.
We'll see about that. Carol on the road has some perspective here. How are you, Carol? Thanks for waiting.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Listen, your wife knew what she was getting into when she married you, right? She knew what you did for a living. Come on. Yeah, she had to kind of know. You work for a sports radio station, for God's sake.
He didn't tell her that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
How do you think I landed her?
Information out.
Carol, had I led with that, it's not the safest of professions these days.
He thought he was a professional marathon MC.
Yeah, right. Well, that's one of my side gigs now, Carol. So I do understand. It's like they bought their tickets. They knew what they were getting themselves into, perhaps. But I just could tell she's a little nervous about how long this could go.
Listen, congratulations on all your success. You live in Bay Village. There's a reason for that. You do what you do. You make the money, right?
I mean, I don't make Jason Lloyd's money.
None of us do. Okay. Well, none of us do.
Where'd that come from?
I've seen your siding. Yeah, I mean, you've got that Nantucket siding.
Yes. Ooh, special. Anywho, Lima, tell her just relax. It's all good. She can watch the kids. It's not going to kill her. It's a team effort here.
Yeah. Yeah, she had her girls' night out. Thank you, Carol. Thank you.
I will be sending this air check to Sarah Ono.
She had her dirty martinis last night, and I bathed the kids, and I put up with the nonsense for, bath and bedtime's like 3 hours now.
What are you going to do if it is a 2-2 game in the 8th inning and it's bath time?
Just pause it. Just pause the game.
I can't. Well, then I got to throw my phone away.
Why even watch it?
Then you fast forward the commercials.
That's not the same. You
sure
can't get away with that.
Well, I'm going to get, because I've subscribed to the Odyssey app and I've favorited the station, I will get the push notification. Maybe if I was at a batter behind, and I will get that push notification before then.
It could ruin it. There's just no way. I've tried to do that before. I was traveling for a Browns game once, Baker versus Pittsburgh, and I'm like, we made it. I got off the flight. I got through the airport. I'm back on the shuttle. I'm like, we made it. I'm going to get home. It's being DVR'd. And some dude on the shuttle goes, Baker just threw it in a section. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. So it's impossible. You can't just be off the grid for these games. Jason, terrific job. Did they get it done today?
Yeah.
Hey, thought about it a little bit. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Guards ball. Even though we don't know if guards ball is going to work today. I like it better when they hit the ball out of the
I like
park.
that better, too.
That's a little bit more fun. All right, thank you, Mary Kay Cabot. Thank you, Matt Derry. I know he is going to be at that game. The Derrys go nuts. And, of course, you can check out the post game here. And then when you're done with that, head on over to the Odyssey app. Check out the Derry Brothers podcast. It is going to be awesome. Spencer German, whose video is now up to 23 million. Wow. Getting Adam Schefter to comment on his video with Shedeur Sanders. All right, Baskin and Phelps coming up next to get you ready for Cleveland Guardians baseball, the ride to the ALDS. Today is a big one. Thanks so much, and Baskin and Phelps up next.
Hey, sounds good.
Where's your entourage now?
Cool, I got on the last show.
Loser town, loser fans, and you guys are a loser show.
This is Boomer Esiason with an Odyssey Sports Minute. The Texans, still worried about that O-line, have slipped into my feeble five at number 28. Followed downward by the Jets. Too many turnovers and a leaky defense are grounding gangrene these days. Cam Ward is leading the Titans reality check, with the Saints again becoming the